with the dozers and maintainers, and they were cutting fire lines in there. And Huey, your different one, was one of the operators, and he had video
Yeah,
up
for whatever
there.
reason today it's not
Oh,
bothering me so much.
Rusty, just a reminder, you guys are live here.
We're live now and being recorded, guys.
No, you can just.
It was the tertial fire way back when the wind was like this, it was this low. Oh, yeah. All over. Well, the microwave's blowing right towards that subdivision. The one in Oklahoma City, did you see that? Or in Oklahoma? House after house, just black smoke billowing out of these terrible. Right.
Transfer doesn't require findings. This one has findings in there. I think at the very end, or I want to say kind of early in.
That's in my hair. I'm copying the first one.
This is passenger Marty Martinez.
I think, oh no, I have a really important thing to type. Yeah, let's print the big.
Martinez tells CNN he was on Southwest Airlines Flight 1380 when one of its engines failed.
If they're not here by the time we get to that point in the meeting, can we go ahead and skip over this? Hopefully somebody can look at me up. Four parking lots.
Oh, certain, it's just certain vehicles. Final turn on some stuff. We should stand up here. We're also falling out of our work like this.
He saw his colleague sitting next to him, typing in the
We got the air conditioner turned on, so. I was like, I'm not like.
Investigators may focus on possible
I
failure.
do too, I let Michelle tie it. That's what I said, I have to start my own, I let Michelle, I jumped too. That's it, we're up there. The neighbors, I learned how to tie. Oh, my God. Michelle, you can set up your new house. I told us that here.
Very interesting to see. So there are a few things that are absolutely different. And one of them was that there's a format for application. Some of them have an application form and a supplementary format for a little more detail on the whys and experience and all that kind of stuff. So, just, because right now it's contact author.
What, you can't read sideways? Told you. They don't teach that in college anymore? They taught us that in college.
By the way, Michelle, hey, nice meeting you.
Oh, I didn't know y'all know each other. He's a computer guru, also the robotics up at the college, all kinds of, yeah.
It's just weird. I had admired your house for I don't know how many years when it started getting fixed up and improved, and I didn't know
likes the winter before the
Oh,
likes the
oh,
number.
yes.
I finally found out who was there, but I love it.
Well, thank you.
Lights, it's really,
I don't know, he said, thanks.
yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
You can come over to my house and finish me.
Yeah, yours is good. I said to him, so when I got on Jason,
Hi, Greg.
looked, you know, is he nervous?
Right.
I parked my phone last night. Right when I got sworn. So then I said to him back, I kissed her.
Are you good?
I said to her back, she never answered me. She said, she had your number. Yeah. For some reason. I told her you could have worse. You could have said something worse.
Did Martha fill you in
That's
on this morning?
I could say, the other day, never come on behind her. I saw you look in there, look there. It's like,
There's one out each of the, whether we.
Oh, we have a job for the
Right.
potential.
Well, I know, but potentially four.
Good evening and welcome to the work session. So let's go ahead and get started. Today is April the 17th, and the time is now 5:15. So we have first item on the agenda is police weaponry. Greg, you want to go ahead and get us started on that, please?
Sure. As part of the approval of the approvals of the marijuana sales tax, one of those was the purchase of guns for the police department. And I support providing the police with a shotgun in every car. I think that's standard equipment. But I really have, I don't know, I have misgivings when it comes to providing them with AR-15s and the tacticals that I have for all of the police cars. And Chief Loyoso and I don't necessarily agree with each other on this one, so I want him to also speak to the issue.
Okay. Chief, why don't you come up and give us your perspective, and then we'll go to council and see what council's thoughts are.
okay. I brought Jay with me too because he's the one that has done the most research with it, but
Look, they're bringing in.
I actually got more backup, so. Yeah, I don't agree with him. I think that it is a piece of equipment that is used across the nation, and it needs to be in the cars, readily available. That's my giving on it, and then I can pass it over to these guys as well. It does me no good to count on SWAT for a active shooter situation. By the time I get my SWAT team round up, the incident is going to be over with. Those are over with within the first 5 to 10 minutes. So those first officers that are responding have to be the ones that are adequately supplied with the proper weapon to go in and take care of whatever situation could be going on. Having it in the PD is only going to delay me getting there sooner, so I need to have it in the car, readily available with the shotgun. They're two different tools.
I can say in all confidence, this is my 7th agency that I work for. This is the only agency, except for the first one that I started with, and when I started way back when, trying to age myself a little bit, I carried a revolver. And at that time, we didn't have rifles. No departments had rifles, we just had shotguns. Currently, right now, and talking to a lot of master instructors throughout the state, we are the only agency that does not have rifles in our cars. Every other agency that I work for has had as well shotguns in the car. We primarily work on a force type thing. So if we were to go up against somebody that's taking a fighting stance with us, we don't necessarily go into a fighting stance with them. We step it up a little bit. We go either to our pepper spray or baton, tasers, things like that. Our firearms that we have now, our handguns, are primarily a defense weapon. They're not an offensive weapon. The shotguns are somewhat of a defense and offensive, but not like the rifle. The rifle is more primary defense and offensive weapon. So anybody that we would go up against with a rifle, and I can say earlier this year that we did a search warrant on a call that we did with a gentleman, and inside his residence, he he had multiple rifles that were, if we were to face him with what we have now, we wouldn't have stood a chance. We seized his rifles as well as a large cache of ammunition that could compare. I mean, he had a small arm right there, and we would have been pretty much helpless without any rifles. And what the rifles do for us, they're more of a precise weapon compared to just our handguns. Yeah, our handgun is just defensive, but we can adapt the rifles to any officer and make them more of a precision shooter than what can do with the shotgun. So we need to meet that force of force. And the shotguns and the rifles, there's a lot of diversity.
Part of the argument that was made too is if we were properly trained him before we give him to him, absolutely. He's going to another training here shortly. He just attended the handgun. Brennan is currently certified with both. No officer will carry anything that they're not certified with, including our sidearms. I mean, we have to have the proper training, and it has to be the retraining and qualification with any weapon that we carry. So that being said, that if an officer does not meet the standard of the handgun, he don't work on the street. But if he doesn't meet the standard of that shotgun or that rifle, he just simply won't carry it. But then the monkey's kind of off my back, so to speak, because it's readily available for him. They just got to be proficient in it. But in that same tone, if I don't have those things and they do need them, and they got in a situation where they needed them, and we haven't supplied them with them, there's going to be some questions asked.
Now, I was noticing in some of the paperwork, and are we talking about just rifles, or are we talking about AR-15s, or both, or what?
It's an AR-15.
Okay.
It's a 223 round.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get some, Mitch Matei has been behind the uniform. Give us some information.
When first Greg and I talked a couple of weeks ago at a one-on-one meeting, I was of the opinion and shared kind of the concerns with Dr. Greg did. I'm embarrassed to say that now, but at the time I did. No, because I thought it was an overly offensive weapon. I thought it was militaristic. And in my mind, you have Michael Brown and those kinds of things that happened. I was concerned. I'm sorry to say, they look so much younger and they talk differently, and I have a hard time relating to them, okay? But to your point, when I started working in law enforcement to date myself, you said your cars had a shotgun.
Yeah.
We had one shotgun that was supposed to be on the road with somebody at any given time.
Right.
But if you're the guy that needed it and didn't have it, there was the problem, to which I've now come to change my mind. I think that we have a duty to, when I was first making traffic stops, although I got shot 3 months out, but when wearing the uniform was the officer presence, the first level of force. Verbal direction, soft empty hand techniques, intermediate weapons, and then you escalate. And most of what we did was at the officer presence level and verbal direction. No longer is that the case. That uniform and that badge represents a target, and a target only in our minds of a lot of people who are prepared, as you have suggested, with the armament that puts us at a distinct disadvantage. And originally I said, well, it's a weapon of war. Well, we live in somewhat of an urban war situation. And I think to put a guy out there, expecting him to effect his job and do what we ask him to do and not give him the proper tools is probably foolhardy on my part. And I apologize for having thought that. I've come to see it differently. Only because the story I remember about having, we had a camera too, in the whole damn troop between Trinidad and Walsburg. If you had a dead person, you needed to wait 2 hours to get a camera. And the same thing was with a shotgun. And that's just wrong. And if we can, I now support or believe in and have confidence in the supervision of the police department to monitor, as was just explained, that the officers who are assigned this particular tool have demonstrated proficiency and a mental attitude. When, as the chief has pointed out, most gunfights are over in just a matter of seconds. Last week to be exact, or a few days ago. And the point being is you don't have time to wait for a stabilized situation and then call in the SWAT team. You need to act immediately, swiftly, and decisively. And that having been said, I think we would be doing a disservice to our employees if we didn't properly train and arm them to do what we ask them to do. So I recant my original position. I wholeheartedly support AR-15.
Sure.
What situation would AR-15 be better than just a standard rifle?
So, go ahead.
Again, there's different tools for the job. I mean, we have handguns primarily as a defense. The shotgun provides us with a different tool as well. I mean, it's a diverse weapon that we can carry a multitude of different rounds. We can carry buckshot, we can carry slugs, we can carry beanbag rounds, and which is less lethal. We can carry gas rounds, rubber rounds. So depending on the type of call we're going, one of the officers that's maybe there can choose to take either the shotgun or the rifle, depending on the type of call that we're going to. So the rifle provides us with not only close quarter combat, but it also gives us some range, and it also gives us some more precision in what we're doing rather than what shotgun will. Because shotgun has its limitations. Where the rifle, if I was to go on certain calls, I would take that over the shotgun. So it gives me a little more precision in what I'm doing, more accuracy than what I'm doing even with my hands.
Your active shooter situation would be one that you would for sure go to your AR-15. And, you know, I'll only mention this because it's happened. We've had, at our school, we've had threats of an active shooter where they were actually in the planning stage. So, you know, it can happen, it does happen in small town USA, it can happen here. And it's only negligent not to be prepared.
So we will be doing our due diligence with the training because we have to liability-wise to make sure that all the officers are properly trained, not only in our handguns, but our shotguns as well as our rifles. And if they don't qualify with those and do what they're supposed to, then they won't be carrying those.
When we have an officer that doesn't qualify with his handgun, Brandon immediately takes steps with them to get them back on target. Sometimes it's just a mind thing. You go out there and you try to qualify and you don't for whatever reason. So, I mean, he immediately, you know, puts them on notice and then they got a chance to redo it again. If they don't, then they're actually not on the streets until they can get it fixed. So, and that would be the same with these. They would have to prove to us that they're proficient with it and that they are properly trained.
Do you do any kind of not mental stability, but maturity? Because I know you have a couple of new officers. Is there a situation with them as far as?
With all our officers, what we continually do, and some of the council saw that the other day with situations where it's quick reaction and things like that. So we're continually upping our training to meet that. And unfortunately, what happens in our line of work is that we're usually behind the 8 ball and we respond to everything as we did the North Hollywood shooting with the bank robbery. I just saw that LAPD, they didn't have any rifles or anything like that. And shortly after that, we started getting rifles. Same as after Columbine, after that happened, then we started to change our training so that we can meet that threat as well. And so we're constantly evolving with whatever comes up, and we try to keep our training up with that and the guys and continue to progress it. So I don't know if the sergeant has anything to add to what we're doing, or?
I don't know. I think typically, excuse me, a little bit of right throw. Usually I come at this from a little bit different angle, and one of the things, and Councilmember Monte mentioned it, part of my job as the armor and as a firearms instructor is to dispel myths that people may believe or they may fall under. Contrary to popular belief, the AR-15 is not an assault rifle. Okay? It is not a military grade weapon. There is no military in the world that uses an AR-15. It is not select fire. It is not a class 3 weapon. And it is not a high-powered rifle. And ballistically, what you're looking at is a 22 caliber bullet that has more powder behind it. That's it. As far as the maturity level, I do have numerous class 3 weapons in that armory. People do receive training on them, most specifically members of the SWAT team and the command cadre. Those are not freely given out. Those do not ride in patrol cars. As the deputy chief said, the whole point and purpose of this is to get me to something else. And I qualified, what did we do that, 12 years ago? 12 years ago when we did our initial qualification for a patrol rifle. Ever since then, you know, I've been carrying my own AR in the rigs. And we do have several. We have several of the department that have gone through the class with me and they've qualified. It's actually a much more strict and stringent qualification than a handgun. On my rifle course, my shotgun course, you pass with 100 or you don't pass. You don't pass on grade.
Thank you for that information.
I'm going to be honest, I'm a bit apprehensive about it. And the reason why is because we're becoming such a police state with militarized kind of police departments throughout all of our local communities, where after, you know, a lot of people pulled out of Iraq, we had all this surplus of weaponry, what did the US government do but filter it down to local small communities? Hence, we have a SWAT vehicle now that probably came from a program like that. But I do see how you can be outmatched sometimes in some regards, but I don't like the fact that we're gonna put fear in our minds and say, well, that could have happened, when it doesn't always happen. And I get it, that lives are at stake, but I don't like the tactic of, we need this because that guy has more than us, but yet he didn't use it. That's just his Second Amendment right to have weaponry. Just like you have and I have the amendment right to have weaponry, should we choose as the law states right now. So I feel that I could get behind getting with the SWAT team, and that's an angle where they're, sent out because of an active shooter. I mean, wouldn't they be sent out if there was an active shooter?
By the time
they're there,
it's done.
Then why do we have a SWAT team?
For the other incidences that we have.
We have barricaded, we have hostages, we have all kinds of other
Because
situations.
the way I'm seeing your argument is you're saying if that one particular officer's on duty, that's the one on site on the moment. And then, well, what happens if that particular officer who hasn't the rifle in his vehicle is not particularly passing their course? That does him no good, because then is he allowed to go and grab the rifle? Is he allowed to even drive with it in the vehicle? When you want to put one in every
I already
vehicle.
told you, Carlos, that they will not have it unless they're proficient with it. And if he doesn't have it because he's not proficient with it, then the argument falls back to that officer that wasn't properly prepared. And I'm properly preparing my officers. And this isn't a scare tactic. This is United States today. This is what we face.
And understand, we don't take those rifles out on every call that we go on. It's only those calls that we feel that it's for our safety as well as the public safety to have those out. So you're not going to time. If we go into a school like in Florida where the guy has an AR-15 and we have handguns, we're going to lose. And we're pretty much telling our officers if they don't have those rifles, you're going to wait till SWAT gets there. And we all know what happens with that, because that's what happened in Columbine. I was there. Our team was on standby to go up there for that, and I was on the team, and of course, we waited, people died. However, you had a place in Texas where it was a small town, and you had a guy that met force and force. He had an AR-15 as well, and he was able to at least divert this guy and take him out. I wouldn't have been able to do that with just a handgun.
Look what happened with the officer in Florida that refused to go in. I don't want that. I want my officer to be prepared to go in. And that's the mindset we have. We will go in and take care of the situation.
So, I have very minimal training and experience with firearms, although I do own a couple. One at my store, one at home. I don't know where there's a patrol going by every 2 minutes. But I need an education, all right? I swear to God, I stopped following people that want to keep litigating the gun battle because there's so much misinformation. Would you educate me? You're telling me an AR-15 is like a 22.
It is a.
But then why are they so, I don't want to use the word demonized, but why are they so reviled? Why are they a symbol of so much for so many people in our population? In answering that, tell me what's the step down from an AR-15?
A step down from an AR-15?
If it's nothing, then why are people upset about it?
Basically, and it tells you right there in the caliber designation. The military caliber designation is a 5.56 millimeter. That's a diameter of 1. Converting that to SAE away from metric is a .223. That is a 22 caliber bullet. There is actually a conversion kit that you put into a magazine and you replace the bolt in an AR. You can do the same thing with an M4 M16, and that's how the military trains to save money, is because it now fires a 22 long rifle. So the only difference, aside from ballistics, is longer case, more power. It's not a high power rifle like you would hear some people.
So it's more
describe.
precision than anything else?
It's a medium range precision. Like when I was in the Army and for stuff that we do out here, we'll train out to, our typical training range is 100 yards, but we were engaging targets, man-sized targets at 300 meters.
If it's of limited use, and I'm not going to belabor this, but if it's of limited use, why does it seem to be the weapon of choice for people, mass shooters?
Well, for one thing, it's a very popular platform. It's very easy to customize to not only the specific mission, but also to the individual user. For example, if you wanted to get an off-the-rack AR,
Bigger magazine and so forth.
but, you know, magazine capacity, I mean, it is what it is, you know? I mean, you can go everywhere from 20 all the way up to what's called a beta mag. There is more ammunition in it, and if I grab one weapon and I have a 20 or 30 round magazine, that's more than I've got my weapon right here. And like I said, when you're in that kind of situation, this is defensive. This is to give you something else.
If I understood you, Officer Berry, you said that if you're qualified, you can bring your own AR-15
Yes,
into
that is
the
always
car.
been our
So
policy.
the only thing we're debating right now is are they going to be providing, are people going to be trained in them? Is that correct?
The ones that are carrying now are training.
Right, I
So we
understand
just
that.
want to-
The idea would be to bring other people.
That's another common misconception.
With the bump stock, you gotta have a bump stock on it.
Well, I have a bolt action and I can't fire nearly as fast as
Well,
a weapon that you're.
an AR-15 is simply, there is no difference functionally between an AR-15 and a Ruger 10/22. You're only going to fire as many rounds as fast as you can pull the trigger. It's not fully automatic. It's not one pull of the trigger and dump magazine. This is one pull, one shot, okay? So if you went and you got your dad's 10/22 out of the closet and put a 10-round rotary magazine in there, you load it up, there's in the armory. We have two types. We have one which is called full metal jacket, which is a military type round. It's non-expanding. That's what we use for target practice and for qualification because it's cheaper. And then our other round is a 62 grain jacketed soft one, which will expand.
And the 62 is what you would use to take the routes and
Yes,
fill?
yes, that is a big round.
Small hole and big hole.
Okay. All right, I'm done with my questions, but I'd like to ask at the end, since we've heard your point of view, and I've gotten a bit of an education, which I thank you for, I'd like to hear from Mr. Sun, because he has a viewpoint on this as well. Go ahead.
So it drives me nuts when you hear assault rifle, it just drives me nuts. AR does stand for Armalite Rifle. It's light, it's the material it's made from, it is not an assault rifle. I am ex-military, we carry, that just drives me nuts to hear anyone associate AR as an assault rifle. So, I shared your same sentiment when I had my one, a shift in that relationship. And I think my initial response was wrong. That I think with training and making sure that people are prepared and that we make sure that people don't pull that gun out at every call is essential to maintain with the public that we're not an intimidation with the police force. Because the thought that followed that was, how would I feel if I said no to this and the situation came and y'all weren't prepared? It's not a matter of, do I think we'll ever need it or not need it? It's the fact that if the situation arose and I said no and you didn't have it, and people were killed, how would I feel? I don't think it's right. I think the essential part is that if this is approved and the guns are in the cars, we cannot have officers bailing out of cars at every call with these guns. We cannot have an intimidation factor because our relationship between the public and the police force is finally getting better. It's the first time in a long time. I've been here 27 years. It's finally better. The perception of our police department is better. And that makes me feel good, and I want that. And I don't want that to be run by the carrying of the guns. But I couldn't stand the fact that if y'all didn't have the guns in your cars and you needed those.
Well, I can assure you that we want that public relations just as badly as everybody else.
I know you do.
And
I just,
promise you that's not what you would see.
I'm just expressing that
No,
would
I
be my
can promise
only.
you that, and it's almost
Yeah.
insulting that you would think that I would allow that.
I'm sorry you're insulted, but I have to ask these questions because there are people out there who have these sentiments. as
Well, I'll stand on my 30 years, and I would never allow that to happen.
All right, so we'll come back over here. It's my floor right now.
Yes,
So, I'll wrap up in saying I do support this, but at the same time, I support, we need you people standing in front of me right now to make sure that we don't have an officer bailing out of a car every call with that gun. We can't have that. That's all I have. It's all yours.
Okay. You know, Mr. Glorioso, that since I've been sitting on this council, I'd do anything for our police department, our first responders, and our firemen. I remember years ago, my dad once had a 7mm rifle, gas operated rifle. And that sucker was neat, and it shoot a shell about this big. And it was gas operated, and when you pull that trigger, boom, 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 boom. You could shoot 7 shots, 9 shots out of that magazine faster than you could make a knife. And now, my question is that these guns, what's the difference of the gun you're talking about and being a rifle? Why does it have to be an AR-15, and why can't it be a 243 Winchester? Why can't it be a 7mm, whatever?
Those, you take a 7mm, be a 7mm odd 8 is what it was, and in a full metal jacket, and at 1,000 yards, that will punch 1,000 yards. That will punch through a human being and continue going.
That's right.
Okay, they were designed to do that, okay? The 5.56, the AR platform, the 5.56, is designed as an intermediate distance weapon, and it is much lower powered than, even like the chief said, the deputy chief said, about his hunting rifle. You know, typically, I hunt with either a 45-70 or I hunt with a 300 Win Mag.
But you can't hunt with an AR-15.
Well, you can take Kyle's and you can take, no, it's not that at all. And it's a lot more precise than a handgun. And I will sit here and tell you, I'm one of the best handgun shots on the department. And I can say that without reservation, and I'm not getting a swollen head about it. There is a huge difference, though, if we go with a scenario like the chief was talking about. You have a shooter, and you have a group of people around him. And you have one officer armed with a handgun. Basically, at qualification distance, 25 yards, they're required to put all their rounds in this 2-foot square. Okay? And we're good. Okay? With an AR, at 100 yards, I can do 2 rounds here. The benefits of that are huge. I'm not saying that spray and pray, it's just there's a lot greater chance that I could miss or unintentionally strike someone else with a handgun as compared to that rifle. Much more precision.
The dream that I had was like looking at Fort Carson and watching the Army guys train with some of these rifles and stuff. That really brought me up to par. The power they have and what they could do in so little time. But I'm like Councilman Goodall, you know, if something would happen, and I'd say go to this, it'd be on my conscience, but I couldn't live it down. And like I told you in the beginning, you guys have to protect yourself. You're the ones that are protecting us and together. Right? You know, I just get mixed up. I just don't want to see no out there bam with the stock beans or whatever that's going on and shooting all these shells all at one time.
Which then gives you perspective. These guns are not military guns, I'm fully aware of that. They're semi-automatic, not automatic weapons. But they look exactly the same. And so they can be perceived to be military weapons by the general public. And it does have a feel of being more militaristic as the police. The caliber, you know, I have friends who have 220 Swifts. That's a 22 also, and it can be unbelievable damage. So the caliber doesn't matter so much. But these are weapons that are designed to wound. They're not designed to kill. They're designed to take 3 people off of the battlefield. That round is not one. Because it takes 2 people to kill
Is
one
this
person
rifle,
off.
is this rifle use steel jacket bullets or what?
No, the duty ammunition that we use, it's actual federal premium is what I use. 62 grain jacket soft point, and then we switched over to Spear Gold Dot. It's a jacket soft point. That's all it is.
And then the other thing too is, most of the situations police officers get into is more close quarters. You can move better in close quarters with a handgun than you can with a rifle.
And at that point, you have your handgun. I kind of disagree with that. I've been on SWAT for a number of years and was in close quarters. In fact, the police departments were used to train the military when they went over to Afghanistan and Iraq, to train in close quarters for combat, we're going through the building and searches. And we find that with those ARs, it's fairly easy compared to even a shotgun going in there, because shotgun tends to be a little longer than what the ARs. And so this is another reason why this weapon was developed, is because of that close quarter combat. And we don't have as much of a penetration as what we do with some of the other rounds we used to have.
I'm going to go ahead and give you my perspective of what I'm thinking about, and just some of this might be just a simple answer. You said that you already have some out there. How many are already trained?
In the rifle, approximately 3/4 of patrol
How
have
many
trained.
officers do you have on there?
I believe at the last count, I have a total of 12 on the department that are certified for the rifle.
How many officers trained?
25 when we full staff are down to.
The distance that an AR will shoot is how far? What's the range?
Maximum engagement range, maximum effective engagement range is about 300 meters. What's that?
900 yards?
About
900 feet. About 900 feet.
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet. You know, I can understand the look of militarizing our officers. At the same time, I can understand what Rusty was saying, that how I would feel, or anybody else here would feel if something would happen to one of our police officers at the same time. And being able to protect you guys, and not only you, but the general public in this case. Where I guess I come down, it's not so much the use of having weapons. Are you proposing that we purchase and outfit all 25 officers?
Yes.
That's the one place that I would say that I disagree. I would say that how many people do you have out on patrol at every given time? Is it half your outfit? 12 officers roughly?
While we have 4 on a shift, that's what operating is, 4 officers a shift.
So, yeah. So I was thinking of just, if we were to do this and do just half the officers. That way they can switch out, the equipment as needed.
Well, we kind of run into a little bit of an issue there, Mr. Mayor, and the issue behind that is, if I sight my rifle in for me, and then Deputy Chief has to take the rifle, the weapon's no longer sighted in. He's probably going to miss. He's going to hit the target somewhere, but it's not going to be that precision.
You have to sign them in as you qualify.
May I respond to that?
Sure, but
Not only are they a personalized weapon by virtue of the sight, but more important than that, they are uniform. When I would patrol, everybody had the same gun, everybody had the same shotgun. That way, we had consistency and intermix between the two. We had one armorer, took care of all the guns, one part. We didn't have a whole bunch of different kinds of guns. And I'm thinking, in my mind, it's better for everybody to have the same weapon in the interest of maintaining those weapons than it is to have 4 or 5 different kinds, and each doing things different with their or their consideration.
Yeah, every one of these rifles will be equipped exactly the same way. So if I've got to use his rifle, it's going to be exactly the same. All of them are going to be equipped the same.
The difference with that, even though they're equipped with the same sights and everything, as the sergeant was saying, that we have to sight that into that individual. Because as he's saying, what's sighted in for him is not for me.
now, are we going to have any officers to say, I've already got mine, I'm used to using it, I want to use mine just like you guys are using handguns? and
Well, like I said, I've been carrying my
That's what I'm wondering, too.
same patrol rifle for 12 years.
So Greg and I had that discussion as well. If we were able to buy them, there will be a department issued rifle to that individual, and then that gives me better control of that weapon.
And I don't want to see any rifles just sitting there because somebody has their own and we want to use them.
No, they'll have to use the department issued rifle. And like Anthony had said, a lot of them have handguns that they issue as well. But as right now, we're staying with handguns, personal preference, because there's so many different, but rifles are different. Rifles are.
Is there any way that we could take these I'm not sure, just telling these class 3 weapons and use those in some of the vehicles and then buy any of the other?
It is a huge liability. The two that are checked out at the armory now, one is with me as the SWAT commander, and it is in a vault when it's not being used. And the other is with my SWAT commander, and it's also in.
I will bring it back to this, to pull some of those guns. Just want to let you know that, because I don't want to see people going out trying to, and people seeing that they're wielding guns, and hopefully they've been trained properly to utilize them properly.
If we had an officer that would pull it out at unnecessary time, we would pull it long before you would.
You have a question?
I have no,
You have a question?
yes, so, not so much a question, but a reaffirmation that you're the professionals. I depend on your thoughts and what you think you need to do a good job. And I think people need to understand too, you know, at every school shooting that you see on television, the first thing that comes out of somebody's mouth is, I never thought it would happen here. And I don't want to have, I don't want the regret that Councilman Goodall and Councilman Bernard.
Well, and as we open this up, we're not leaving the field here, we're just catching up. This is across the nation, every department has, the chief said here, every department is using this. And there's a lot more people that have done a lot more studies than even the three of us here that lean to that weapon for police as well. It's the weapon of choice for police departments.
What is the cost that we're looking at for this? Because not only just the one-time purchase, but then we also always have to pay for the ammunition because you're gonna have to have the training, so you have to go and shoot rounds. What is the long-term cost that we will be incurring?
Well, when I looked into it, I was working with a dealer that, the ARs that we're looking at getting at are $500, which is quite a bit lower than what you can get in some of the.
Did you say 500? We've already allocated 13,000.
So, and this was part of the AR-15s as well as the shotguns. So I'm working with them to get that, also some of the sights on it.
And then for ammunition?
And the gun should last us, unless we get a lemon or something like that, at least 10 years or more. So we're looking at a good lifespan for those weapons, as long as they're taken care of, and go 15 to 20 years. So ammunition?
Ammunition, we already budget for every year. I do an ammunition count, and I sit there and do my math and I turn it into the deputy chief. That is accounted for. I do have a fairly good stock going right now. There for a while, I remember a couple of years back when we were doing the council's walkthrough, ammunition came up as part of the deal. And the first question was, why so much? And my answer to that was, I'm actually short and I'm 18 months in back order. Fortunately, right now, we are not in a situation of back order. We're pretty good. Aside from the initial class, getting those officers qualified going through the class, take about 100 rounds apiece for those guys. And then the yearly qualifications on them, it's a 20-round course plus some class time. So the cost of ammunition is actually minimal.
Mr. Senator, we have, like Karen, you were saying, that there's a budget in there of $13,000, is that correct, for these purchases?
Well, the amount approved will cover the cost.
Let's take one more question, we'll move on to.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
You know, that's when I was watching the news on Channel 13 there, and they were showing that Pueblo was the #1 city in the state of Colorado with crime going on up there. And I was just wondering, do any of you know if any type of Pueblo police officers carry these kind of guns in their pocket? They all do?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, good. The only agency, again, when I talk to the master instructors throughout the state, is that parole, they don't carry rifles. Again, that agency that I've been on, we carry rifles as well as the shotguns. So, and I've been carrying the rifles for over 20 years now. So this is my first agency, other than my initial one, where I have not. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No, good.
Comment, because I was kind of wanting to hear from both sides. I'm persuaded that numbers for the missions work.
Well, Greg, it sounds like, we probably should move forward with that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, at this time, I know I asked for consumption clubs to be put
Do
on.
we run into any problems, Audra, by going over into the work session, taking time for the work session?
No, not
Okay.
necessarily.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the item 3, volunteer board member vetting. Came to my attention, and I'm not sure if anybody else's attention, concerning vetting some of the people that we appoint to boards and commissions. And just want to get some ideas from council as to what your thoughts are. If there are 1 or 2 of the boards and commissions that maybe require a little bit more expertise, I guess you could say. Others not so much. So we're going to get started. Mr. Dowd.
I'm just gonna listen here and find out.
Well, what being that you've been on,
You bet. I'll jump right in on this because I feel I made a serious mistake and I let my former commissioners on planning and zoning down, and I made an extremely bad choice. Because of a person who had public service before, who had sit on a board or commission, and I went along with appointing them to planning and zoning. I spent a long time on that board. I was on that board because of my years of experience in construction. And it's an important board. These are people that make land use decisions. These are people's rights for their land. And this should not happen because somebody has been on P&Z before, or they've been a member before. And before that, we've had other people that have been appointed. I don't mean to sound like I'm targeting one specific person, because I'm not. I'm just using that as an example because it's something that's happened recently. It's an important commission that requires a lot of training and a lot of time, and you need to know what you're doing. And we've had people come onto that board before, and I think it's important to get a feel from the commissions, and I've heard this from my wife so many times on Arts and Cultural Commission that she sits on. Nobody even asks them their opinion of who's coming on. Do they fit? What do they think about the people coming on board? And I think it's important that the people that sit on the boards we're appointing people to should have a say to appoint who they're going to be setting with. They need to have some knowledge, and they need to be a fit with the board and the commission so these boards and commissions can function properly. We have people who are volunteering their time from our community to better this community, and we need to take into consideration their feelings and how people will work with them when we make our decisions and appointments to the boards and commissions. And that's how I feel about it.
Michelle?
In the past, I've typically called up the board members and said, is this a good fit? What do you think of the qualifications? Maybe I've stopped doing that a little bit because we have so many vacancies. And, you know, you see somebody who's got relevant experience in library science, it just seems like an obvious choice for the library board. I think I've probably erred on the side of laxity recently, and I agree with Mr. Goodall that I think, with the caveat that we don't want to have an inbred board.
Correct.
Okay.
I couldn't agree more.
What I would like to get, I think that board should have an opinion and should be responsible for a portion of the vetting that goes on. And perhaps a recommendation can accompany each application for a board. You know, I liaison to a board right now that doesn't have city appointed people to it, and the board nominates people. And that actually works pretty well. I mean, it's a good board. I'm not sure I'd want that on the board, but I'm actually one copy. But I think a blend of the two. So I'd like to see council with the ultimate decision, but with recommendations from the board that is going to.
I feel very similarly. I know it's tough to find other people to volunteer for this position, and that's part of the challenge in itself. But at the same token, I would rather have a smaller, well-qualified board than a larger one that may have some people that are inept. I would much rather have a smaller group that's well, educated in these particular individuals. If they work well, what the qualifications are. Yeah, I stand behind it.
I feel like somewhat of a hypocrite because here I am I wasn't qualified for this position when I was sitting in now, but I had the desire to run the position and the desire to serve my community. I don't think it's, our problem is with the people that are applying for these jobs. I think we're making it too easy. I think what they should do is be required to go to at least one board meeting of the commission or board that they're asking to be on. Get some interaction with the board members there and let the board members give us feedback as to whether it'll fit, it's a good fit. I think anybody can be trained. I think it's the important part there is, are they going to be willing to go to the training that they need to?
You have some very poignant observations. Maybe we need to think in general terms about procedurally, how do we go about doing this?
Yes.
Rather than have somebody write a letter of interest, show up here, we ask, why do you want to do it, they tell us we don't. Maybe there has to be a, as Jeremy suggested, an internship track, or whatever we describe it. Maybe boards and commissions can be more active, and I'm just throwing this out as it is, can be more active in solicitation, getting volunteers. Okay. So soliciting, that's what I'm, soliciting participants. I think it's maybe more of a procedural issue. And you know, sometimes if you have 7 people in the office, and 6 of them aren't necessary. You know, you have to have some diversity in some regard. But I also appreciate there has to be some fundamental understanding and awareness, or at least the willingness to gather that technical knowledge to be informed in the decision making.
I think that what makes this such a good city council is the diversity amongst us.
You know, Mr. Mayor, if I would just say in 1 second, is that, you know, the problem that we're talking about right here, we have a problem filling the boards as it is, period. We have all these boards, and every time August sends out a letter, maybe we get feedback, yeah, I want to go on this board, and that's like Karen said, you know. It's the point where people think that I'm not going to apply now. You know, I'm not smart enough to go sit on a board. I'm not smart enough to go sit on the tourism board. I'm not smart enough to sit on, just like Mr. You know, when I wanted to look at the library board. If it wasn't for my illness, I would have went to the library board, but I didn't know nothing about library. So if the point of view we got to watch what we're doing here is to check for cat, because, you know, if you get somebody out there and say, yeah, I'm going to write a letter of interest, give it to Audra, we have 1, we need 3 board members. They ask, I'm not qualified to sit there, I'm not going to go to the board and look at something, you know, make it look stupid. So it's kind of a ticket for cat situation. That's what I think.
You know, I think maybe one of the things that we can do too is to, anytime that we send out letters for interest, is to put on there to give us a little bit more information other than just saying, I want to be on the board. Give us some background. We want to know your background for this particular board or commission. I think that would be really important. And I do like your thought too, that before we even approve, to ask them to maybe attend 1 or 2 of the board meetings to see what their thoughts are. They might change their mind, and they might say, yes, I am feel I am qualified, or yes, I can learn what needs to be done in this particular, for this particular board and commission. So I just think that we don't want to bog ourselves down at the same time with vetting, and it becomes a real issue. And the other issue is we got to be careful of, let's say we have a board and commission, one of the boards or one of the commissions to go out and find some of their own members, that they don't start loading up friends.
Good point.
So that's the thing that we have to be really, really on guard. So how do we guard against that? Any thoughts?
Yes, I would recommend that in addition to whatever the 2 meeting or 3 meeting, whatever it takes, that there should also be an accompanying interview and a recommendation from that board. And then we can listen to it or not if we want. But really, I would like to have the vetting done by people that know what they're doing. I don't know how to vet, of course. I really don't. You know. So, I mean, I would like to have a recommendation from the board, and specifically the chair of the board.
Yeah, we'll get that. But one of the questions that I have too, and one of the things I think we should do is, if we go down that road, is that if we have these people attend the meetings, that wherever that chairperson is, that they work to engage that person for feedback. to see what kind of response they get.
Yeah, the grasp of the knowledge.
So that'll go back to that person to engage that person, see what they find.
There's no difference in having an empty seat than having a person filling that seat that will not interact and do the job. There's no difference in the two. You need to have someone, I'd rather have that empty seat at them tables when I sit up here with planning and zoning than to have someone there that never did their homework, never was involved in our decision-making for writing a comprehensive plan, going through new sign codes. I mean, that is not stuff that should be taken lightly. You'd rather have an empty seat than fill it with someone that will not do the job, in my opinion.
Can I make one recommendation too? Whoever chooses to come on for, like, say, planning and zoning, they've got to at least know the comprehensive plan. At least know that. That should be a minimum. Or have, like, learned about it and had an idea about these different facets from, you know, recreational or growth and all the other, you know, areas of that particular plan that the previous commission worked so hard to put together.
Ms. Luther, you had something you wanted to say?
Just very quickly, I promise I'll keep this quite short. You know, I'm a big one on preparation, and to address a number of points that were made. Currently, we do have vacancies, and we don't have waiting lists for those vacancies, but things are changing very rapidly, and there are more and more people moving here, and more people will be moving here. And once they've met that 1-year residency requirement, there will be more applicants for many of these boards and commissions, I'm quite convinced. And I looked into other communities that are similar to Trinidad and how they go about seating people for boards and commissions. And every one of them had some sort of application, whether it be online or you know, paper fill-out application or whatever. Louisville, Colorado, San Marcos, Texas, Minnetonka, Minnesota, just a number of communities that have some really well put together application processes. And I think that that's something that we should look at to increase that process, as it were. You know, I think it would help prevent conflicts of interest. Many of these applications have very clearly stated positions on conflict of interest, instead of waiting until someone is on a board and then there is a conflict. You know, any number of things. I can leave these with whomever you would like. I can email them to you, whatever. But there are some really good models out there that I think would help alleviate some of these questions and make it a little bit smoother transition.
Give that information to Mr. Sun.
I will happily do that. And thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, let's go ahead and move on. Mr. Sun, I guess, go ahead and probably just take that to your team and maybe see if whoever, see what you guys can work up for us. And sure. Bring it forward. Okay, with that, we're going to close the work session. We're going to I'd like to say welcome everyone this evening to the regular city council meeting. Today is
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call, please.
Donato?
Here.
Ghetto?
Here.
Griego? Here. Molda?
Here.
Matei?
Here.
Niles?
Here.
Rico?
Here. First item on here is the proclamation, Week of the Young Child, April the 16th to the 20th in 2018. From the Office of the Mayor of Trinidad, Colorado, proclamation, Week of the Young Child, April 16th to the 20th, 2018. Whereas the Huerfano Los Angeles County's Early Childhood Advisory Council, South Central Council of Governments, Early Learning Center, Rocky Mountain Sarah Head Start, Kitty Corner, Peas in a Pod, Trinidad School District, Tony School, Aguilar School, Romero School, Branson School, and Kim School, in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April the 16th through April the 20th, 2018. And whereas these organizations are working to promote and inspire high-quality early childhood experiences for our state's youngest citizens that can provide a foundation of learning and success for children in Trinidad, Colorado. And whereas teachers and others who work with or on behalf of young children birth or age to make a difference in the lives of young children in Trinidad deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures and to the prosperity of our society. Now therefore, I, Philip P. Rico, Mayor of the City of Trinidad, Colorado, on behalf of the Trinidad City Council, do hereby proclaim April 16th through the 20th, 2018, as Week of the Young Child in the City of Trinidad, Colorado, and encourage all citizens to work to support and invest in early childhood in Trinidad, Colorado. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of this city to be affixed. And who's receiving this, please? Congratulations, and thank you for all the work that you do for the children of our community.
So thank you, Mayor Rico and the City Council. This month is April is huge for Week of the Young Child. It also is autism awareness, pinwheels for prevention. And so we have a couple of tokens of appreciation in support of Week of the Young Child for the City Council and for you, Mayor Rico. Their keychain is saying thank you for your early childhood services of support, as well as keeping early childhood in your minds when you make decisions, not only in our community, but when you advocate at the state level. The Hormone Los Alamos Early Childhood Council creates a seamless early childhood system that improves access to high-quality service and supports young children and their families in the Five-County region. We support 3 domains: health and well-being, early learning, family support, and education. We are legislatively one of the 34 early childhood councils in the state of Colorado. And with that, Week of the Young Child is April 16th through the 20th. It's a celebration hosted by the National Association for the Education of Young Children, known as NACY. It's celebrating early learning for young children and their families. But it's also recognizing that children's opportunities are our responsibility, and to recommit ourselves to ensuring that each and every child experiences the type of early learning environment, not only at home, in childcare, and at school, and within the community that will promote through the early learning and create a strong foundation. So we have given you the tokens of appreciation. We also gave you some pinwheels. We challenge and would love to see you as a champion and make a pinwheel garden. Take a picture of it, share it. Also to share these signs in our businesses as a sign of support for the childhood during Week of the Young Child. So I'm going to sign.
Everybody who got a pinwheel, raise it up and let's draw some goodwill to these people.
And here's the
We need to get a dog. Remember last year we got all each of our dogs?
Yes, the dolls, you will see dolls throughout the community and in schools. I think this year we've done close to 150 dolls.
I bet.
And we have sent out close to 400 pinwheels in the Five-County region, and over 100 signs. So thank you very much.
And
You guys do an excellent job. Thank you.
Yeah, our dolls, so you'll see some dolls in the newspaper that were at the Capitol in March 14th in honor of Speak Up for the Kids in the College Roaders campaign. And so this is an ongoing annual event that we attend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 2, approval of the agenda. Motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I would like to take, well, it kind of goes 8B, which is we have an appointment to tourism. So maybe we ought to have a little discussion on that. I was going to talk about maybe moving that tourism up to a different position. So, but I'm not sure if what we discussed about tonight. If that is something we want to wait for, or if you want to proceed with that appointment.
I was thinking the same thing.
You want to leave it on there, and we just leave it where it's supposed to be, and then we can give us some thought as we go through. Let's leave it on the agenda for later on down where it's supposed to be. I was going to move it up, and that's what, we'll give us some time for
And that way, is whoever's, up for appointment, are they here?
Yes.
Right there, okay. All right, good. All right.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Donato?
Yes.
Goodo?
Yes.
Riego?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 3, policy items and staff reports. Do you have anything from staff? Nothing. Item 4, petitions or communications were overridden. Do you have anybody?
Oh, no. I looked up and here this was live. Yeah.
Ms. Fitzgerald?
Hi, Mr. Mayor, council members. Martha Fitzgerald. There is a drawback to having us wait so long in the audience for other members. I keep thinking of new things I want to add while I have you in front of me and I've got the microphone. I'm here to address the issue about the boulevard and homeless people who are living down there. And I walked the boulevard yesterday, and I have some photographs I want to hand out. It's the first time that I have been that far west on the boulevard. There are more people than I can count camping down there, and there is a huge problem with garbage, and a lot of it is right along the river. I mean, there are tents along the river, there are pillows and bedding, and people are, according to Howard Lackey, who keeps a good handle on the river from Commercial Street to Linden. I found it very clean. He's actually paid people to go out and clean the sides of the river. On the other end, there are all kinds of people camping, and it was brought to my attention recently by someone on the Urban Forestry Board that people are actually cutting down trees. There's a species, you'll see in the photographs, there was one fire pit that I found. I could smell fire somewhere else, but I didn't find another fire pit, but I'm sure people are cooking or whatever. They're doing laundry in the river, and one of those photographs, my husband says that he saw bags of garbage 3 months ago, and it was, or 3 weeks ago, it was reported to the city, and nothing was ever done. I was told by Tom Beach 3 months ago that there would be dumpsters put down there. I'm not trying to encourage people to live by our river, but they're living there anyway. My idea is the city needs to get some dumpsters down there. I would encourage all members of council, I know Mr. Lopez has been down there, I've actually walked the river with him before, that if you put on your hiking shoes and go down there, I think you would be appalled at what's going on. If we provided dumpsters, I talked to one person and he said, I said, what do you need? How can we help you? And how can we make this less a fire hazard, less a pollution hazard for our river? I said, would you use dumpsters? And he said, well, of course we would use dumpsters. I know that Comcast is having a cleanup day on Saturday, and I don't think anyone expects the regular citizen to go in there and clean that up. I think that's a city duty. It is city property, and it's not the kind of thing that I personally want to be cleaning up. But I think that the city should provide a dumpsters, and also porta potties. And people can say you're encouraging them to live there, and I'm saying no, I'm just trying to make it more sanitary. Because we are doing a lot of things in our city, not only on the river, but downtown, to make it attractive and to bring in people, new people, tourists, and then we've got that going on, which we're not even addressing. And so I would say, take a walk and come up with some kind of a solution. And then while I have the microphone, I'm also going to pass around a photograph on Main Street. This is at 130 East Main on our sidewalk. I don't know, there was a big gala event for SCRT the other night, and people are getting out of their cars in fancy outfits, walking around this kind of stuff. And since I still have the microphone, I'm not going to mention names, but in the 200 block of East Main on the south side, there's a lot of garbage-looking things. And if a new ordinance needs to be written, I'd say write it. But we're trying really hard to make things nice in our city, attract people, and then we're letting things like this that are quite easy to solve, you know, move it out of the way. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne Pritchard?
Scratch my name, please.
Resolved, huh?
Yeah, everything's been said.
Okay. Linda Barron?
Council, Linda Barron. I'm here to let you know that May 19 is Armed Forces Day, and we're going to have the parade that we did in the past 3 years. This will be our 7th year. We've had 1 year off. So I'm asking all of you to get in your car, your horse, your buggy, whatever, to get involved and to support our military men and women in uniform. We're going to have about 50, 60 military coming down here for customs. So please come and help us and do a big celebration for them. Also tomorrow, Wednesday, the Chamber is money luncheon, so please come and we celebrate the Hula, the 5th month, so please come. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Just wanted to say, you know, I really do like to hear from the community. I think council as a whole, we like to hear from the community. And hopefully that we've been, you know, at least reasonably responsive to some of your requests and at least hear you out. So I wanted to say thank you and keep coming forward because we need to hear from you. Item 5, consent agenda. Item A, approval of regular meeting minutes of February 20th, 2018. Excuse me. For April the 3rd, 2018. Item B, approval of a special event permit request by Trinidad Los Angeles County Chamber of Commerce at 700 Smith for June 8th, 9th, 2018, Santa Fe Trail Festival. Linda, she's here. Item C, approval of a special event permit request by Trinidad Los Angeles County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce at 206 North Adams Street for April 28th, 2018. Fundraising community dance. Is there someone here from the Hispanic Chamber? Thank you. Item D, approval of special event permit request by Southern Colorado Coal Miners Memorial and Scholarship Fund at 201 to 219 West Main Street for May 5th, 2018 fundraiser. Is there someone here? Again? Item E, Approval of the special event request by Cooperación Mutualista Mexicana y Hispana Americana at 206 North Animas Street for June the 2nd, 2018, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation banquet. Item F, approval of the bills. Item G, approval of the payroll, April 7th, 2018 through April the 20th, 2018. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Excuse me, Mayor, do we have someone here from the Rocky Mountain Elk?
Yes, do we?
No, it's the CASA.
Okay,
That's
okay.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Not, call the vote, please.
Renata?
Yeah.
Rivera?
Yes.
Riego?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 6A, new retail, it's a public hearing, new retail marijuana store application filed by Laser Management LLC doing business as Connoisseur at 1400 Van Buren Street. Ryan Grego, Nick Dremel, are they in the audience? Yes. They're here. Please come forward, please. Hearing is now open. Would you please swear me in? Please.
Thank you, absolutely. Good evening, gentlemen. Now, which one is Mr. Griego and which is Mr. Dremel?
I'm Ryan Grego.
Okay, great, thank you, gentlemen. I'm Les Downs. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I want to begin by asking you, have you reviewed your application prior to submitting it? Have you reviewed it, and is it accurate to the best of your information?
Yes.
Okay. And this is an application for a retail marijuana store license, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and as the mayor indicated, it's a Laser Management LLC, a Colorado LLC in good standing, that would have the trade name of Connoisseur if you're approved, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, now gentlemen, let me ask you, you have an interest in another marijuana license in Colorado, is that correct?
Several.
Okay, several, I meant to say several, but we'll get to that in a moment, but you do have other ownership of other marijuana licenses?
Yes.
Okay, so we're clear, this corporation, this is owned 50-50 by the two of you, this LLC, I should say?
Yes.
Okay, and it was formed March 9th of 2015, as you recall?
Correct.
Okay. The address we're talking about here, I believe, is 902 Jefferson Street, formerly 1400 Van Buren.
That's backwards. It was formerly 902 Jefferson, it's 1400 Van Buren.
Okay, thank you. So it's now 1400 Van Buren?
Correct.
In Trinidad?
Yep.
In 2015?
Yep.
Okay, and have you complied with the conditions requested of you by planning and zoning?
Yeah, and I had spoke with Audra about renewing it, but she said we hadn't got that far yet, so
Okay.
it's still in good standing.
What were you hoping to redo?
Well, because I thought it was a yearly renewal.
Okay.
So 15 was the last date to have a letter saying it's in good standing.
Understood, but this is, so council is aware, this is the valid conditional use permit. And is this indicates you were approved by planning and zoning on April 16th of 2015, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Your landlord is RG Properties LLC?
Correct.
And is that the two of you?
We own that.
Okay. And you rent to Laser Management LLC, is that correct?
Correct.
And so we're clear, a 6-year lease from June of last year through the end of May of 2023?
Correct.
And I'm assuming you have the landlord's permission to sell marijuana on the property? Okay. Would you tell council, if you would please, how many other marijuana licenses you have in the state of Colorado?
So we have 2 other stores, 3 grows.
8 total. This would have been 9.
Where are your 2 stores?
Colorado Springs and Pueblo West.
Okay. And where are the grow operations?
Same. Colorado
Okay.
Springs and Pueblo West.
And you said 2 stores and 6 grows, is that correct?
3 grows.
3 grows.
Yep. And then
2 extraction.
2 extraction.
Okay. And how long have you owned those facilities?
The medical license is 5 years, and then the recreational licenses are a little over 3 years.
Okay. So I note that you have in your packet disciplinary actions from the Department of Revenue, is that correct? I think you each have the two that you have against your license, correct? So they appear twice, but there are two, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, one is I believe, a sanction that was already imposed, and one is the equivalent of a citation to show cause. Is that okay?
They've all been resolved though, and we're not on probation or
Okay.
anything like that.
What was the resolution of the second one?
The resolution of the second violation was, $10,000 fine, a 7-day suspension for the Pueblo West license.
Okay.
And it was a year probation from March of 17 to March of 18. So we completed all of that successfully.
Okay. And do you have any other outstanding disciplinary actions, either with the Department of Revenue or any local licensing facilities?
No.
Okay, and will you tell council, if you would please, and it's again in their packet and they can read about it, but the nature of those disciplinary actions, I believe the allegations against you were the employees sold product to a minor in both cases?
No, so the first incident was in October of 2014, and we had a medical grow facility in Canyon City, Colorado, and the state had implemented a new system with a metric tracking software that caused, so you didn't have to have your plants in the metric software until October 1st of 2014. When that happened, people on the medical side were fighting over patients, and there wasn't really a system to track it. And so when everyone entered patients, multiple medical marijuana centers were claiming the same patient. And so the Marijuana Enforcement Division just came in and said, these patients belong to you, these belong to you. They came in and they segregated it to their choosing, and it caused us to be over plant count on a medical cultivation.
Okay.
So they came in and we just destroyed the plants on site with them present, and they called us compliant, but we still had a fine. So the disciplinary action from that was a fine, and then in May of 2016, Labor Day weekend, neither of us were present, but an employee of ours sold cannabis to an underage, an undercover state. An individual was 20 that day.
And if you would please just elaborate on how that was allowed to happen.
Yeah, so we card people at the front door, and they're also carded once they get into the bud tending area and check out. This individual slipped past them.
The front desk
the front,
and didn't do her mask correct.
and she didn't run it through the scanner like she's supposed to. So when both employees were fired on the spot.
Okay.
And we implemented new scanners after that and new procedures.
Okay, and no other disciplinary actions on your licenses, is that correct to date? Okay, how long have you been in the marijuana field? I'm sorry if I already asked that question.
Approximately 5 years.
Since February 13th of 2013.
Okay, thank you. Now, I want to ask you about your background checks. I know that you both have entries on your criminal histories, and I believe, Mr. Griego, you have a couple of DUIs on your record. Is that correct?
I was arrested for driving under the influence, but never accused one time, and then the second time arrested for driving under the influence in 2010, I believe. And but I never got it. Was pled down to a DWAI.
Okay. In these entries, sometimes it won't show what the resolution or what what the final outcome was. So 2 arrests but no convictions for DUI or DWA?
Correct.
Okay. Or it did result in a conviction, or?
So the first one, there was no DUI or DWAI. The second one, no DUI but a DWAI.
Okay.
The second one.
A plea to the lesser of driving while
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on your background or your criminal record, Mr. Griego? Okay. Mr. Dremel, you have, I believe, a 3rd-degree assault on your record? Okay, would you tell, and I'm sorry, but we need to talk about this, and this, of course, is, it can reflect on good moral character, or the possibility of a lack thereof. So would you tell council, if you would please, Mr. Dremel, about the third degree assault?
Sure, so it was basically a mutual road rage disagreement, and we both got out of our vehicles, and the incident turned into a little bit of a scuffle, and that's basically it.
Okay. What was the outcome of your case?
I got a deferred sentence.
Okay. And you completed that?
Not yet.
Okay, you're still on the deferred. How long do you have to go?
It's till August.
Okay. So you are on misdemeanor probation, is that correct?
Right, it's unsupervised.
Okay. Okay, thank you. If I could, anything else council should know about him, and anything else that may come up? I know one of you had a water skiing violation. I'm not sure. Okay. This doesn't seem like that would ever indicate bad moral character, but council may have questions about that. If you're approved, when do you hope to open? I mean, what is your?
We're under construction right now, and our goal is July.
July this year.
July this year, okay. And do you have submitted your floor plan? I saw your alarm monitoring agreement. How many people do you hope to employ if, again, you are approved?
Upwards of 13, so that's about what our staff is in Pueblo West. We expect this store, because of the location being where it is, to be a little bit higher volume than Pueblo, so probably around 13. So, and the people that train down here will be employees that have been with us since 2014 out of Pueblo.
Okay.
We'll bring them down for the transition.
Okay.
So as well as us as owners will be here at least.
Will you be hiring locally?
Yes.
At all? Okay. But some of the core employees will be existing employees from Pueblo?
The management, just to come down and train the staff that'll be hired out of Trinidad.
Okay, understood. And you have your conditional state license, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You understand that for this facility, you cannot order or possess any product until you have your local marijuana license as well. You understand that?
Yes.
And you're absolutely responsible for renewal dates and anything of that nature. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. And you understand, gentlemen, that if you as you're
Used to that same protocol in the other jurisdictions.
Okay.
For the most part.
And I understand that you must be familiar with the state code on retail and medical marijuana. Have you also familiarized yourselves with the local code, the Trinidad code on retail marijuana?
Somewhat, but not fully. I plan on getting into that here soon.
Okay.
The closer we come to open.
You both are going to be presumed to have full knowledge. I mean, as they say, ignorance of the law is no excuse, and you understand that. Do you not?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And then you have to have your certificate of occupancy from the city before you can begin operating. You understand also, gentlemen, that in times of any kind of resource austerity, water, electricity, anything like that, if we run short, you may be the first ones to be cut off. You understand?
We do.
Okay. I have no further questions, Mayor, council members.
Any questions from council? Mr. McKay?
He complies with the pre-moratorium conditions for requirements.
Yes.
I have no questions, but I've got a concern. I mean, I've sat in on a couple of these hearings before, and every other prospective licensee has had a squeaky clean record, both personally and with the facilities that they were involved in. I just have a concern that a system that's set up to be fail-safe failed, and I'm quite concerned about what quality of operation.
Sure, that's understandable. With the violation 16, 10 other licenses in Pueblo County out of the 13 also failed and were cited at the same time. So we definitely weren't standalone, but that is not, I'm not using that as an excuse. You know, we're definitely responsible, especially as owners. And since then, you know, with the med and other compliance consultants, we've really refined our processes when you come in and ID checking and all that. So it's definitely inexcusable that that happened, but we've we've done everything in our power to correct it so that it never happens again. And those same procedures will be implemented at the store in Trinidad as well.
And I hope that the record show we're not related.
Yeah, we were all wondering. Yeah, right.
My question for you, Mr. Dremel, how long is your deferred sentence for?
It's in year,
1 year, so this incident happened fairly recently.
in July of last year.
I would just hope that things have mellowed out for you.
Yes, sir.
That's all that I have.
I have a question. You're not the first people I've seen let an underage person get tested. If I understand scanners are good, I want to know something, because I have a theory on why this occurs. Do you have a policy about employees indulging in your product during work hours?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is that policy?
So if we catch anyone during break or on-site consumption, there's zero tolerance, so they're
Zero
gone.
tolerance.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, because that could account for that net.
absolutely, yeah.
I now want to understand the scuffle. I'm guessing it was more than a scuffle if you got misdemeanor assault charges.
It really wasn't, but
Okay, were you both charged?
yes.
And did you both receive deferred sentences?
I'm not sure what this is supposed to be.
Okay. Can you just describe the incident a little bit more? It's very recent.
Yeah, so, he cut me off and I passed him and, got in front of him and then it went back and forth. He threw something at my vehicle. I pulled to the stoplight behind him and he got out of his car first and was approaching my car. And, I got out and so it was a little scuffle, nobody got hurt.
No one got hurt? No one went to the hospital? No ambulance was called? Okay. How did it get reported? How did the police show up?
I got a letter in the mail, so we both left in our vehicles. And, then I got the summons to court.
Correct, Counselor, this doesn't go towards moral character,
I agree.
That's all I have.
So what are your concerns in the market with 20 outlets already open? Where do you see the market? Where do you see y'all fitting into this?
It's definitely, the market's changed in the last 3 years. We've been on board front seat. We feel like we have a great location down here, and we've been doing this for quite some time. We know the business in and out, and we'll be a viable business down here.
We grow all organic products out of Pueblo, so sun-grown, in the greenhouse down there. We also have outdoor cultivation in Pueblo, so, and we have our own in-house extraction brand and lab. So we have an advantage there over some of these retail outlets that have to buy from wholesalers. And like Nick said, our location, we feel like is very prime, and we had to jump through some hoops to make it happen, but we're finally here, and we're developing it, which is good.
You're depending on signage?
Yeah, and I understand that there's pretty strict
So
sign.
you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
So they're rewriting the sign codes are changing, so I just encourage you to make sure you're fully aware of the sign codes if you're approved, and, because I could imagine you'll bank heavily on signage in that area.
Yeah.
And that's something that's changing. So the reason I asked about the number of outlets, that all your product that comes from your own grow, then, your own facilities.
For this location, no, because I don't think we're gonna be able to supply. It just depends what the traffic is like, but probably 60 to 75% of the product up here will be
We
in
supply
in-house.
edibles and other products from Nice.
That's all I have.
I just have a couple of questions on this one here. Is that, whose original license was that? Can somebody ask me that?
It was mine originally.
No, before, I know that back in the days when that was originally assigned, that was up there.
That's what's
That was the name of the people?
Jeff Trancosa.
Jeff Trancosa, right. So, when I'm trying to make out, so in the last 4 years or 3 years, there hasn't been nothing done up there at the city at all. So, my question is about the council, we got a cap on this right now. And how long do we give these people, you know, to try to put a foundation or something on this within a year or 2 years? It's the thing like the Sunflower Valley, when they wanted to get water taps down there in the Sunflower Valley, that we had a ruling and the council had a ruling that if they didn't use the water taps or put a foundation on that ground in a year's time, then that regenerates back to the city. Okay, so my understanding is, how do we keep on going? I mean, did they sell the license to them, or how did that work?
And Councilman, I know that Councilman Goodall is raising his hand, but it's my understanding that as long as people who have a conditional use permit renew annually, as long as they renew annually, it stays active. And Ms. Marshall is nodding her head in the affirmative. I'll defer to the council.
So I was just gonna reply, so planning and zoning has a CUP review process. And so there's a backlog because there was such a high amount. So through that process of CUP reviews, that's the ones that are not doing anything at some point, some are going away.
Some are going away, but then like 3 years down the road, there was nothing done up on that property that was supposed to get done before.
I didn't say it was a perfect system. I just said it was a
what the perfect system might be, because that's the only thing I'm telling you. And that question I also have is one that Mr. Councilman Mateo always has. Why did you pick Trinidad? Why, you got stores at Devil West, you got, where else did you say?
Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs, why'd you pick Trinidad?
So we actually bought the land from Mr. Trancoso in November of 2014, and we're planning it then. We had some CDOT issues that cost us about a year. Then the market changed and
Build a brand new building.
I just think we have to look at this a little bit closer.
and we chose Trinidad.
Built on that, on the foundation, and that land is gone.
Yeah, we're both from Pueblo, born and raised, natives of Pueblo. We chose Trinidad, you know, it's a good location from Pueblo, about an hour away, and we're based out of Pueblo. So we want to contribute to the community down here. I mean, we've seen it thrive, you know, down here due to cannabis.
Before we go on any more, Rusty, do you have any prior knowledge on this particular thing that would exempt you from voting?
It was Transcoso's whenever it come in front of planning and zoning, and I was there, so I'm not aware of any sales, and nothing's come in front of P&Z the time I was there, Mr. Mayor.
You know, I do have some concerns with some of your background. It just seems like that's an issue with me. And I really believe that before we get into that, what I'm going to do is ask for anybody in the audience who wishes to speak for this application, who want to speak against this application. What I want to do is close this hearing. I'm going to ask council to go into executive session. So, that being said, hearing is closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have to vote on that?
Yes, we do. So
Okay.
motion to go into executive session. Second.
Second.
Okay. Votes call vote, please.
Donato?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Reno?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
McKay?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes.
Where'd you want to my wife just texted me, we've been out of power till 5 o'clock. So no, I'll just stay here.
Due to the wind. Wow.
Yeah, it was blowing horrible.
Yeah, Carol, come here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I hope they do thumbs up, guys.
Appreciate that, yeah. Us too, thank you.
Not on our property. Well, yeah, fortunately, the houses and cars, no injuries. Like if your tree was gonna fall, that would be the place that you would want it.
Did you hear it? No.
they really want to appoint this? Tommy had some things, so they shut it. Right there. So we can meet,
You know, I approached, I don't know how many people in Jacksonville went to watch an old talk to you. He did.
but he's gone off. No. Because he moved out of the city, but it's, you can be in the city to be on the board. He lived in Denver. He's still got residency in Denver, so he's out. No, when he back to the county, when they told him this, it was not easy. But you have to be here. Here he's on, he cut his own. There's a couple people.
The other one was, I know,
Name it, but in their free. They're free. Huh? Yeah, they don't have to. They can't talk about it.
Do you have people over there?
Yeah, well, I thought their executive session isn't that long ago for you, let me tell you. Just get that open.
Yeah. Yeah, let's save some money for sure.
sounds to me like it's kind of a
It was one of No, the first time, no, I was in competition. The second time.
Yes, all four.
We never had an issue before, we have that sale to a minor. Some bear on that. Well, that's what's good.
She quit showing up.
That's it.
They changed the whole ordinance. They changed the whole ordinance.
So if that's something you're interested in.
And they're discussing how to enforce it. We're not here to enforce it. You just make the rules.
Yeah, I don't like the hundred last night, said that they just want to stay on board, go as they can with the ETN regulation. This way.
In the morning it was, and then it kind of
So.
it was horrible. No one, everybody, if it snows, everybody comes out. If it rains, small people come out. If it winds, everybody stays out. Those have been the rules for my last 10 years.
Tell them the same thing, but I think they may be interested in all of that, like, you know, since they say,
We're open.
Yeah.
I get it, it's a tight mess. And I understand the concerns, it's, that's cleaning up all college. There's hiccups, you know. He doesn't have a rec store, does he? It's medical.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have rec, there's only recreational that they don't do. So he has a medical
Is that what it is?
store.
Yeah, so they've got some. Who's good at it?
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Customer service. Still.
From the investor.
Okay, this is going longer than I expected, huh?
Well, nobody told me. You guys could have told me I'm running my camera here. How long have they been gone?
10 minutes at least.
Well, it hasn't been that long. 5.
I got everything from 5 to 10 to 12.
We have to go back.
I saw everybody leave.
6:54.
That kind of helps.
We'll cut it in the middle.
We're kind of in the middle. I think I'm closer to the 5.
Yeah, you are.
You're okay. It wasn't 7.5 there, Amy.
What are we playing, Price is Right?
I don't know what we're playing. It was right, period.
There it goes. It was 7 minutes. All right. And we're still live. We'll just leave it live. Did they say it was going to be short?
They didn't say.
Do I shut down the live feed?
Hello, how are you? Yeah, I'm exhausted. I'm on my last
Did they go in on you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know how that works? Do they make a decision after that?
Or do they come out and vote? Yeah. And then decide. Generally, they pass it. There might be some consternation because of the criminal stuff, but there's been worse. So.
Good.
So they're still not getting that. I'm not sure how that is. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a meeting at 7:30 and a meeting at 10:30.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the things that's concerned. Yeah, so 2020. But it's good. But I can go back.
Exactly, yeah.
finally know that piece of house that we helped them
So he thinks
You want a yoga tomorrow, Mary? No, no. I'm not going Thursday, I got a merchants meeting. Should be. No. It's actually quite interesting. It's a marketing thing for our town, you know. We don't need any more marketing, let's just dump. That's what I want to do. Dump the marketing. Dump the marketing, we don't need any more marketing. Yes, we do. No, we don't.
We need more information on more efficient. That's basically. More efficient, different
If I was 5 years younger than, I'd open a yarn shop.
A yarn shop?
A yarn shop. That would be a yarn shop.
I heard you say yarn.
When did you do it then?
No, I'm too old.
Not true.
Oh, yes, I am, honey. You get past that 65 and it's over. It's over. Even though you don't want to be, it is over.
Careless.
Right, exactly.
Because you don't even know.
You can't jump with it. Where would you put your yarn shop?
Oh, I moved with a little table.
That's Here's my idea.
Okay, how long does the executive session?
They're having coffee and donuts.
Yes. Oh, wow.
Between, that was like 100. How about this one? And I threw a wrench in the last one.
I think we all equally were pains in that, but it's a laborious process, I mean, because you gotta coordinate. And so, yeah, I really appreciate Linda.
Yeah, she's. What do you want to do now?
So, yeah, I think we got it pinned down, so I think that's gonna work out great, actually.
Actually, quicker.
Yeah.
Moved it to Monday. I think everybody said, yeah,
Keeping the attention span.
Bigger guns.
Huh?
That might be a good idea.
Metering workshops.
Yeah, and AMI.
I'm bringing my form.
10 hours of sleep.
Meter readers.
Gets that.
A lot of them, I don't know, you know,
Yeah, okay.
people that know how to work with the system, so they get.
Okay.
It's like a moon that I don't know.
Where's his pajamas?
We'll send
They were like, oh, that was yesterday.
No, I'm weighing options.
National Pajama Day yesterday.
Ins and outs of.
I've already.
It's a wonderful stretching exercise. It really is. I mean, you stretch like hell. See, I can't make it down.
It doesn't show up in the background.
Now, Laura and I have one.
Oh, good.
All the stuff.
So.
Yeah, someone told me there's one at 5:30.
You all left. Oh.
Yeah.
They said there's 6:30 class for the weights.
Compensated.
This chick's on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Or no, it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tom Murphy told me it was killer.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, that's
Yeah.
What?
good.
What?
The weights one.
The what?
The weights, the yoga weight one on 6:30 in the morning?
Oh, yeah, that's good, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So
Yeah.
normally, we don't see
Oh, yeah.
as often. So.
No, somebody told me it's hard to rent it, and I was gonna go, and I can't because my knitting class that girls are here. So, but they said it's not that.
That's because they're just turning on the heaters, so.
What was that the weekend you used to?
Whether their temperature compensated, how they're.
I know Kathy Walker.
We're starting.
She Walker's one at night. See, I keep order for, right?
Yeah, the more you can find, the better. So then, does that job?
Raven's been going,
And then we come back.
Gracie went to one,
Okay,
oh, on
right,
Monday,
this
two
is
gems.
what we think your system is.
Yeah, two gems.
Does
She
that
said it was
sound
great.
right? And then,
She said she.
you know, your stuff is just, I don't know about this
Sure.
I like the Tuesday, Thursday one.
area, then you say, okay,
We
how
just
do you
want to
want
get back
us
to
to
where I
do
was.
it?
I'm wondering if we could talk to her to tell her to do a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because it's only us four in here. Gracie and Susie probably mine. I'll talk for them and see if maybe we can talk to Sonia and do it just a little bit harder one. And she had one, do you guys
How it
like
impacts
that? We stand, we just don't do it that often. So maybe we tell her.
So,
Because there's only a stand. And I don't want total stand.
you know, this would be.
Because I can't do weekends. Okay, so how about we talk to Susie and Gracie and ask if they would like a little step above, and then go to Sonia and say, okay, can we do it, give us a step up? You know, what would she do? Even though she said, right now, we're the only ones that are going, come on. And the other two girls that do go, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, we got.
No, but,
I'll be on same page as far as what we're doing.
when you go Thursday, I will not be there, ask, because there's only, I'll ask Susie and Gracie tomorrow night. And then, because the other girls that go, they're bigger professionals than we are. That one chick that goes once in a while, or she goes, and that other girl, she just, yeah, she just goes into the lab, that's what she goes there. Okay, can we go knock on their door? Tell them they got me out here.
I know you would, go ahead.
You think, who do you think would yell at me first?
Just go in this door, say, hey, I need to use the bathroom, there's a little bathroom right there. Shake them up.
I want to know who's gonna yell at me first.
I've been all day, I didn't get to eat, I'm hungry.
You know, one of the things that he could probably do the day before the workshop would be the bar meetings for the moderators. And, our staff meeting, he does it. As long as he has any that could come to us.
Yeah.
We can probably get that done in advance. So if we're doing a workshop, then we're doing.
I used to do hers third.
Any day that
And I was doing a shoulder class for sure.
Yep.
And then when she moved out of her studio, and I was doing.
What's some kind of that?
I thought she was doing, yeah, I thought she was doing her. And then she told me just.
Nervous.
The reason I'm doing this one is because when it comes swimming,
And of course,
oh, I agree. You can have one between us. Yes. We need 15 minutes to talk to you. I'll ask him tomorrow night. Bump it up a little water. Outside.
And I applaud you for that. That is just a mountain.
9 to 10, oh, it's wonderful. And I got a bunch of work we're trying to do. Cycles were wet. Because I'm not the
It's got to be something
I'd be surprised if you didn't do fine.
You didn't know I did that. I did. You just didn't see me.
Yes.
Just the box themselves.
Yes.
Why would you?
Yeah, why would I? I'm not, my work is out.
Council back in session. Time is now 7:17. I'm going to correct the week completed according to my watch inside there. It's only about 3 minutes past according to that. So it's only use that clock. The time is now 7:18. And the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were
Rusty Goodall.
Michelle Miles,
Bill Rico,
Carlos Lopez.
John Fraser.
Anthony Matei.
Les Jones.
Kim Lopez. Audrey Garrett.
Sarah Marshall.
for the record of any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, the next agenda item is motion to approve the retail store application by Laser Management LLC doing business as connoisseur at 1400 Van Buren Street. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Donato?
No.
Riddle?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes, but with some severe reservations.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Please read findings.
Whoops. This matter came on for a hearing on the application of Laser Management Limited Liability Corporation doing business as Canna Stewart at 1400 Van Buren Street in Trinidad, Colorado for a retail marijuana store license before the City Council of the City of Trinidad, Colorado, acting in its capacity as the local licensing authority on April 17, 2018, in the City Council chambers in City Hall. The city clerk, having reviewed the application and supporting documents, reports of the city clerk and other city staff, evidence of the hearing and testimony taken during the hearing, makes the following findings. 1, the application is complete and signed by the applicant, and the applicant has paid the appropriate application license fee. 2, the application appears to be in substantial compliance with all the requirements of Article 11 of Chapter 14 of the Trinidad Municipal Code. The applicant has testified to their willingness to comply with any and all of said articles whereby compliance at this time cannot be fully attained or substantiated. 3, according to the testimony of the applicants, the application does not contain any material misrepresentations. 4, the proposed marijuana business comply with applicable zoning regulations. The City Council hereby finds that based on the testimony of the applicant, the building in which the proposed marijuana business will be located will conform with the Trinidad City Codes, including the zoning code and the international codes adopted by the city. Ryan or Randy? Ryan Grego and Nick Dremel testified in favor of granting the license. No other person has testified in favor of or in opposition to granting the license. The applicant, through the facts and evidence adduced as a result of the city's investigation and testimony provided has made a prima facie showing that the applicant owners are of good moral character, and any employee of this entity will likewise be of good moral character. According to the city clerk's report, there are currently 68 medical and retail marijuana licenses overall approved within the city of Trinidad, with 27 ownerships at 35 addresses. Based on the evidence presented at the hearing and the investigative materials provided for the hearing, the city council finds that the location of the business is appropriate and that the applicant owners are of satisfactory moral character, and their willingness for a license at 1400 Van Buren in Trinidad, Colorado. The issuance of said license shall be withheld until the certificate of occupancy is issued by the building official and upon absolute confirmation of compliance with all the codes adopted by the city of Trinidad. The licensee is not permitted to possess products in advance of this license being issued. That's it?
Thank you. Item D, beer and wine license application filed by Heart of Trinidad LLC, doing business as Heart of Trinidad at 402 West Main Street. Area is now open. Mr. George, please come forward. And I guess Amy? Please swear him in.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to ask you guys some questions also. It's somewhat clear, so we have Amy Roberson. I'm glad I didn't mispronounce that after you just said it a couple of times. And Travis Jamail. Correct. Did I say that correctly? Okay, great, thank you. Now, I want to begin by asking you guys, you had circulated a petition that you finished up today, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, this is if you're sitting places also members of council. This is, I believe it's also in your tablets. And you, Mr. Jamel, you circulated the petition?
Yes, primarily.
Okay, and we'll get to that in a second. But if I could please, this is an application for a new beer and wine license, liquor license, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and this is the Heart of Trinidad LLC, Colorado Corporation or Colorado LLC, in good standing, doing business as the Heart of Trinidad? Okay. I'm sorry, you have to answer yes or no.
Yes.
Please, thank you. Okay, and this corporation has been in existence since April of 2016, does that sound right?
Correct.
Okay, and you two are 50-50 owners of this business, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, did you also review your application packet, and is it totally correct to the best of your information?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Would you like to begin by telling council what it is you're going to be doing and why it is you're here asking for this liquor license time?
At this time, we have Billy's Outdoor Saloon, this area next to that bed and breakfast, that we have outdoor movies and bands that come in. And this time before, we had no liquor, no any kind of license, obviously, but we're just trying to draw people in, have a good time outside and watch movies and enjoy themselves. So it's just on the outside section.
Gotcha.
What we're doing.
Absolutely beautiful home in historic Main Street. You guys all know it, you've seen it. And Travis, when we moved into our building, we had an open lot that wasn't really being utilized, and Travis had, I think, experience from living in Austin his entire life, but we wanted to bring music and entertainment into Trinidad and just have different options. And while we've had a lot of successful events, I think until the city is comfortable with any sort of smoking establishment for cannabis, we want to flip so that we're supporting what the community is approving, while still having events at our location. So it will help to bring the wonderful talent that we want into town.
Great, thank you. And so we're clear, this is 402 West Main Street, and it's the building right over here on the corner.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't mean to point at you, Councilman.
It's Dr. Mahoney's office.
Okay, that's how we refer to it. And how long have you owned this premises, or rented, or have the premises?
2.5 years we've owned it.
Okay, thank you. And I note also that you have a 5-year lease, I believe, and you both are the landlords, and you're renting to the LLC for purposes of this business, is that correct? Okay. And so you've owned it for 2.5 years, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. You also, I know, have a description of the contribution, the various financial contributions in the packet, and that's in there for council. I won't discuss that now. I want to ask you both, do you both have or are you going to have more employees as you go forward?
We will. We're kind of playing by ear as far as the draw, but we definitely have employees in mind that's gonna be on our staff soon.
Okay.
But we also, I want to be really fair and honest, for the first month or however months that we're open with this, we'll be rolling up our sleeves and doing what we can by ourselves. And then when we get to that capacity where we feel like we can sustain employment, that's when we'll bring other folks on.
Okay. And are you familiar with TIPS training, the alcohol training that they
Yes.
have? Okay.
Yes.
And have you had that yet?
We have not. We
Okay.
will need to do that if this is approved.
Understood. And any employees you may have in the future? Okay, good. I want to ask you, did you both submit criminal histories as part of this background? And, okay, and those came back clear?
Unless something I don't know about.
Right. Just saying that for the record. And I will now ask you about the petition. How many days, you said you were one of the circulators, Mr. Jamel.
I was the circulator, I apologize.
Okay, not at all.
Sometimes I was with him though as a buddy.
Okay, all right, but he was the primary circulator. And I don't know how many signatures you have all together. I know that some of them.
Should be 25 on each.
Okay.
Individual.
And some of them, I think, were stricken for one reason or another, but I believe you have approximately 40 people who were qualified and registered electors, and I know there are no people who oppose your liquor application. Was that the result of your circulation?
Yes, there is.
Okay, and you did circulate that petition?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so from your having done so, is it the indication that the people that signed the application, the petition, do not oppose another liquor license establishment?
Not at all.
Okay.
Everybody's enthusiastic about it.
Okay.
Especially outdoors.
I mean, I think us being a little bit different than your average location right now in Trinidad makes it different in fun.
Understood. You understand that you are limited to alcohol sales or consumption on the licensed premises. You understand that?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And are you able to make sure that no one is going to be able to basically wander off with alcohol?
That's a huge concern of mine.
Good.
Not at all.
Good. I know you have a big fence, but it's a liquor license violation potentially if anyone would be.
It is, and in fact, we have more work being done on the fence and on the entry so that we are controlling the flow of people and we know where folks are.
Okay. And you have submitted a floor plan, camera system and security plan, I believe a site development plan. When would you like to begin, if you are approved, when would you like to begin doing this, if you have a date?
May 5th is, we're hoping to have our first event.
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
Okay. And you understand that you too would have an ongoing obligation and requirement to cooperate with all city officials
Yes.
in support of your business?
Yeah.
Okay, Mayor, council members, I have no further questions.
Mr. Matei, you have any questions?
I do. We're here to consider an application for a liquor license, but in an earlier explanation, you mentioned something about until the city changes, has a position or a stance on cannabis consumption.
Sure.
Which I thought kind of interesting segue
Sure.
into a liquor license. Can you better explain
Well,
that?
it is. We hosted 7 consecutive industry nights at our location. All of them were peaceful, all of them were fun events, but we absolutely respected the moratorium that came down because we understand that the city needs to be comfortable, the community needs to be comfortable with it. But at the same time, we cannot afford to bring the quality musicians that we do into Trinidad without something to bring them there. And that was cannabis. If we have beer and wine, it does the same thing for us. It allows us to afford to bring in the musicians that we want.
Okay, so this beer and wine license is until cannabis or instead of, or
Well, if it ever is legalized in Trinidad to do some sort of club, we'll come across that when we need to, but right now, this is what we're doing to survive as a business.
Understood, and I won't belabor the point. Thank you.
Fair.
You're not gonna allow marijuana.
Anyone in the audience to speak for this application?
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Johnson. Nancy Lackey, 211 White Street in 308 West Main. Howard and I would like to voice our support for Amy and Travis. We've known them since they moved to Trinidad, and they're working vigorously to understand Trinidad, to get involved in Trinidad, and help Trinidad grow. We find that they're very hard workers. They have taken a raw piece of ground, and they have actually tried to make it into like a little amphitheater for entertainment. We have visited their site. I'm looking forward to going to some of the outdoor movies. They do some old classic movies, which are quite fun. And I think that it's a new addition, a new type of entertainment venue that Trinidad doesn't currently have. And I think that being that historical building, it also adds interest for visitors. We oftentimes get people in our particular business who are asking for a bed and breakfast close to downtown, and the need is there. So we're happy to support them, and we think they would be good business owners.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak for or against the application? If none, hearing is closed. Motion to approve. So moved. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Or any reason to go into executive session, I would say. I don't think there's nothing that I can see. Any discussion? The only discussion I would have just mentioned, if they decide to participate in the entertainment district, of course, they've got to go through all the processes to be, would that be something that they could participate in?
It would have to fall within the map that was set down by the city for that to happen. I don't know that it does.
His purpose is raising the
It would not fall within 60 feet.
The boundary right now ends at Animal Street, so it could be extended. It's not right now.
Thank you very much. Call vote, please.
Bernardo?
Yes.
Goodall?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. There's no findings.
Okay. This matter came on for a hearing on the application of the Heart of Trinidad Limited Liability Corporation, doing business as the Heart of Trinidad at 402 West Main Street in Trinidad, Colorado, for a new beer and wine license before the City Council of the City of Trinidad, Colorado, acting in its capacity as the local licensing authority on April 17, 2018, in City Council chambers in City Hall. The City Council, having reviewed the application and supporting documents, letters of recommendation, reports of the city clerk and other city staff, petitions admitted into evidence at the hearing, and testimony taken during the hearing, makes the following findings. The neighborhood consists of that area located in the city's corporate limits. Amy Roberson, Travis Jamal, and Nancy Lackey have testified in favor of granting the license. No other persons testified in favor of or in opposition to granting the license. The city clerk's report shows that there are 38 liquor license outlets within the neighborhood. Of these, there are 3.2% beer off-premise licenses, 1 3.2% beer on-premise license, and 1 club license. 13 hotel and restaurant licenses, 7 liquor store licenses, 7 tavern licenses, 1 arts license, 4 beer and wine license, and 2 lodging and entertainment licenses. The applicant submitted a petition regarding their liquor license application. The petition contained 52 signatures, of which 40 were residents or business owners or managers from within the neighborhood, 21 years of age or older, in favor of the issuance of a liquor license at this location. No remonstrances were submitted. The applicant, through testimony and other evidence, made a prima facie showing that a reasonable requirement of the neighborhood are not being met by existing liquor outlets, and that adult inhabitants of the neighborhood favor the issuance of a license. Based on the evidence presented at the hearing and the investigative materials provided for the hearing, the City Council finds that a reasonable counsel for the City of Trinidad, Colorado, as the local liquor licensing authority, hereby approves the application of Heart of Trinidad Limited Liability Corporation doing business as a Heart of Trinidad at 402 West Main Street in Trinidad, Colorado, for the city council issued on this 17th day of April, 17th, right? 2018.
Thank you. And good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll be able to add to the nightlife of our community and make it a good experience for people and tourists that come into our community. Item C, transfer of ownership of hotel and restaurant liquor license request filed by Los Angeles Grill, LLC, doing business as Los Angeles Grill at 341 North Commercial Street, formerly RGS Sawaya LLC, doing business as Cafe What a Grind. Hearing is now open. Camilla, would you please, and I guess Amy, would you please come forward? Who else do you have with you? Please state your names.
Jay Gonzalez. Amy Lee Robleski.
Okay. And swear him in, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. So, for the record, if I could please, this is Camilla Gilly, and this is Jay or Jesus. And your last name, sir?
Gonzalez.
Okay, thank you. And Amy Robluski?
Yes, sir.
Did I get that even close to correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Now, would you please tell us, what are your various capacities with this business? I mean, owner, operator, manager, beginning with you, please, Ms. Gilly.
So I am the owner. Jay is the manager. I'm the executive chef and partner.
Great, thank you. And so I will be asking questions, I guess, primarily of you, Ms. Gilly, if that's okay. And I want to also let council know that we received a City of Trinidad background check on Ms. Gilly that was just received, I believe, the other day, as if we're seeing places. So this is a proposed transfer of ownership of a liquor license, is that correct? As the mayor indicated here, basically wanted to take over What a Grind. And this would, I'm sorry, you have to answer yes or no, please. Okay, thank you. And this is, as the mayor indicated, the Los Angeles Grill LLC, doing business as the Los Angeles Grill, correct? Okay, and how long, I know that you have renamed the establishment for a while. How long have you been conducting business there?
As Los Angeles Grill at the beginning of the year, so the beginning of 2018.
Okay. And you've been operating, you've been kind of collaborating with Mr. Buzz Savoy, is that correct? And kind of operating under his liquor license up till now. And I think having, trying to decide if you want to maybe take the business over, is that fair to say? Kind of a breaking in period? Okay. And do you understand, I mean, have you been on any liquor licenses previously? Any of you? Have you? Any restaurant management? Any? Okay.
Yes, but not on the liquor license itself.
Understood. And I saw that you had your work history in there, ma'am, and I appreciate that, but not on a liquor license. Is that correct? Okay. So, what about the two of you? Do you have restaurant experience previously? Just out of curiosity. There's no right or wrong answer.
I do not.
I do have 20 years of restaurant experience from the house, back of the house, general managing, director of operations. So I have a clear knowledge and understanding of how a restaurant, how a liquor license works.
Okay, good. And you understand the obligations and requirements of all of you if you are given a liquor license. And you have to have a familiarity with the Colorado and Trinidad liquor codes. You understand that? What about tips training? I mean, you guys are already kind of in the business now of selling alcohol. Have you had tips training yet?
I am tips certified. My staff is not tips certified. We wanted to get this hearing behind our belt. So we had
all your employees that are serving alcohol.
Every employee that comes through will go through a tips training class before they go into our bar.
Okay, thank you. And I know that you have, well, let me ask you this. The ownership...
Los Angeles Grill.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, what is that?
Keep going.
Okay. Okay, so the answer was, thank you, Ms. Gillies, the 100% owner of the grill. Okay, what about the LLC? Same thing? Okay. And so you are ultimately responsible for the business and really ultimately responsible for the liquor license. Is it going to be, I mean, I know it's going to be in the corporate name, but is that held 100% by you, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Any contemplated modifications, I mean, I know as you stand here right now, you may not have any, but taking on any partners, any new owners in the LLC? Okay, that was a no. Okay, and so it's your intention to remain the owner of the business, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and do you have any division of like financial ownership? Is it all you? Any profit sharing arrangements, anything of that exists between any of you?
So what we have is, we have a structure set up so that Ms. Robleski has a 5% interest into the start of the company to come down and be a part of this business.
Okay.
With us here in Trinidad.
Okay.
And that 5% grows over the course of 5 years.
Okay. And so we're clear, I mean, Ms. Robleski, you're going to be the manager, is that correct?
I'm the executive chef and run the back of the house.
Okay.
Will help Jay with the management of the front of the house and overall duty and direction of the place.
And Mr. Gonzalez, I know I've seen you there before, but you're the front person. I mean, you're going to be.
I'm the front of the house for now. I mean, I've been actively seeking out a general manager. I brought a young man in, and he didn't work out, to my standards and stuff. So the search goes on with that. But my intention is to hire on a full-time general manager here very, very shortly.
Okay. So I know that in the liquor code that managers submit their information for a background check, and I know you did that, Ms. Robleski, and I just for the record, I understand you have a DUI from 2010. Sorry for commenting on that, but I have to. And Mr. Gonzalez, did you submit a background?
Actually, I did not submit a background check.
Right. It is that because you don't consider yourself to be a manager / operator?
No, more of a kind of a director of operations of the overall business structure.
Okay. But that's why you did not submit one?
That is one of the reasons why I did not submit one.
Okay. Yes. Okay, thank you. And Ms. Gilly, I know you did, as I said before, and yours came back clear. I want to tell council also that there doesn't need to be a petition circulated since this is a proposed transfer of ownership of an existing liquor license and not a new license application. I have no further questions of these individuals. Mayor.
Questions? Yeah, not for me. Okay. That's it. Yep. Okay. And there's no problems with him not submitting background checks?
There's not. I think that we have to kind of accept on faith his role in this, and so if Ms. Garrett is comfortable with this, I certainly would defer to her with respect to that, and I wouldn't say that I would require Mr. Gonzalez to submit a background check.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. Anyone in the audience to speak for this application or against this application? Not? Hearing is closed. Motion to give the reason for executive.
Donato?
Yes.
Bruno?
Yes.
Reno? Yes. Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Okay, like I said, there is no findings on this, I think, simply because it's a transfer of ownership according to laws, according to law. We have no unfinished business, miscellaneous business. Contract with Johnson Controls Incorporated for investment grade audit. Motion to approve. So moved. Second.
Second.
That's staff. Continue, please.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. As we discussed at our previous council meeting,
the city entered into a process in conjunction with the Colorado Energy Office to bring on an energy service company, an ESCO, to help us implement radio read meters. It's a project that I've been contemplating for 4 years now, just can't come up with the funding to do this. So this process was allowed by Senate Bill 17-252, I believe it is. Anyway, what that did is allow the Energy Office to work with us and work with an energy service company to go out for meter efficiencies, and that's where we're at here. We, over the past 2 weeks, have gone through with Johnson Controls and come to finalize a contract that's before you in your package for approval. Miss Rowena Adams, who is with Johnson Controls, is in the audience. She, if you have any questions, put her on the spot, but she's going to be the account executive on this project for us, should you approve it, and you'll probably see a lot of her.
Okay. Questions?
Not for me.
I have none.
Any questions?
Okay, I just had one, I want to make sure I can have this right. 4B, 1A. It's on my page 9.
And by the way, this contract comes from the Colorado Energy Office, so it's boilerplate pretty much, but
Tight, right.
yeah.
4B. It says payment for performance of IGA only without authorization of it. Can you just explain that to me? And I just want to make sure that the right protection is in there for us. It reads to me like we have the ultimate authorization. Our project representative can decide that this doesn't happen. Is that right?
Somewhat correct. So what the process begins with is an investment grade audit. The cost that's listed here is for the investment grade audit, the $121,000 and change. What that allows the ESCO to do is see if this is financially viable, if the savings, if they install all these meters, the savings that we realize actually does the paying off of the project. If they cannot find enough viable savings, or if council says, you know what, thank you, but we don't want to move forward with the next phase, the $121,000 is what's they get paid. Correct.
Right, and there's something called the project representative, I think that's you, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And is there provision for successor, if for whatever reason you decide to retire, should they bring an alternate in here?
We've never thought of this.
Counting down.
Yeah, two retires again. Sorry.
No, I mean, I like the fact that you're there, maybe it should be Greg.
Well, and Greg is also listed in the contract as.
So it's 15, 20 years, it's whatever you set them up for. And when they do these studies, they have to stand behind everything they do. So they have to guarantee that the work they've done to prove that those savings will happen. So I would caution you, if you have any inclination of backing out of this thing, don't get into it. Any inclination.
Okay.
Because it's gonna cost us $121,000 to back out.
I understand that, but if we don't, I have not read Colorado revised statute, section 2912.511 CRS, which is referenced to. It seems to be the standard for whether we should be going forward with this thing. I want to make sure that if for some reason, I don't know that requirement, if for some reason we have reason to believe that someone's gaming that standard, that we still have the right to exercise that authority. And it's for that very same reason. I don't want to sign something that put this on a treadmill into many further expenditures. And as I read this, it's pretty much state statute that determines whether this thing gets greenlighted. But I want to make sure that you guys and city council have a way of questioning that. And it wasn't clear to me when this is a very technical contract.
It's a big, yeah, right.
So I do not have a problem recommending this because it's through the Colorado Energy Office. I feel comfortable with their backing. I also feel comfortable with Johnson Controls, but and I will talk, because this contract was worked through the Colorado Energy Office. I can see if we can add under the political subdivision designee, we could add, great, we could take my name off. And
No, I want you to. I'm just saying, I don't want to bring up the contract dispute.
Right.
There should be your successor or a sign or whatever.
Sure.
Or Greg would be a fine addition too. So, but there wasn't in any way questioning your judgment on this. I just want to make sure that we don't get caught in a limbo.
Well, it was important that the companies that we sent out requests for RFPs were ones that were recommended by the State Energy Office, so they vetted all of them. They made sure that they're reputable companies that are able to perform, they're a big enough company to handle this type of contract. And Johnson Controls is a very large company.
No, I've been working with them many years ago. I've been around for a long time. All right, I just want to make sure we have full review and flexibility. We're not getting into CRS 1225, because we're not going on CRS determining our future.
That whole section of the revised statute has to do with energy savings and this type of contract.
Okay, that's all I've got.
How problematic it might be in the event that, let's say, you retire and let's say Greg leaves, and change the person responsible here? Would that be a problem down the road?
I think there would be an amendment maybe to the contract.
Maybe city council's designee or something.
Right.
Is it necessary to specify a particular person?
Yeah,
Can we say,
council's
Mike
designee.
Valentine in your capacity as, or the subsequent designee?
Sure. I don't see a problem with that. Rolanda?
I do not. No, that happens quite a bit in the local government accounts. So I've been with Johnson Controls 8 years and the local government account executive for our projects here in Colorado. So the transition between the project representative, like Mike and Greg had mentioned, the Colorado Energy Office has a representative that will work as your advocate in this project and can easily add any type of political subdivision to the contract that you feel is necessary.
We're going to be spending $121,000 just to do the audit to find out how much savings there might be. How soon will we know? Is it 6 months, 10 months?
Well, you want for
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple other questions.
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome. So the question is, how long do you anticipate the investment grade on?
We are prepared and poised and ready at staff's designation to embark on a process that could be fast-tracked. So typically, for a process that's looking at utility metering infrastructure, that process can take anywhere between 2 to 3 months. That's what we anticipate for this process. What I will do is, as your account manager, I'm accountable for the success of this project. So what I'd like to do is collaborate with the city and Mike and Greg and whoever you designate to identify what that schedule looks like. And weekly construction meetings, development meetings will be occurring so that at any time we can provide that status. We'd like to engage as many people as possible in this process because it really extends the entire city government and what impacts and benefits it would provide. So right now, we believe that by the time we're able to do the audit, we can return something in guaranteed maximum price form for the infrastructure improvements and associated savings. At that point, Councilman Miles, I think you would be interested in part of the financial structure, because then that will also be a component of the process.
Greg, you had said something about 15 to 20 years.
When you finish, when you do the project itself, it's amortized over that period of time. There's a lease purchase that's obtained in order to pay for the project, and then it's paid back over that period of time. And the savings that we derive from the implementation of the project has to pay for those debt services.
So the anticipated time would be in that range?
Usually. And you can get up, you can start at 15 and go to 20 if it's an easier way to take it out.
And you're right, I would like to look at that energy performance contract.
You know, I know that we're gonna like expend the $121,000 just for the audit. And of course, after that, we have a cost for implementation of construction.
Actually, when this is done, this gets rolled into the total cost. If we continue with this contract, we won't pay any money upfront.
Okay. And I think you've come up with, there's about 5,000 number of meters, is that correct, 5,000 of each?
Roughly 5,000 in each
category?
electric, gas, and water.
Okay.
Correct.
So when you convert over something like that, do you know, give us an idea of what the cost per meter might be, any ideas?
It can range quite a bit.
What's the reason for the range?
Different manufacturers and different technologies. And so when we're looking at different utilities particularly, so in water, there are many different meters available. Water meters lose their accuracy over time. And so that market is pretty diverse and prolific. Gas and electric, they have variable accuracy potentials. So we see it all over the map. Trinidad is unique in the sense that you are a city with a minute supplies utility of all three. So what we're going to try to do through this process is try to find the most cost-effective solution while honoring the various technology differences between all three utilities.
So what would determine that? Because you probably have had some experience up to this point as to the cost of an average, let's say, a water meter. It's somebody that you probably used in the past and feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be interesting just to see what that average cost might be.
Absolutely. Because what we would be looking at would be 3 different utilities. We will be embarking very soon in a water meter, well, actually all meter technology and advanced metering infrastructure workshop. The advanced metering infrastructure is going to be the technology that reads all 3 of those meters. The cost is going to be different if we have to look at a different infrastructure for each of the utilities.
So you're going to try to utilize one company that will provide all meters?
That is the city's discretion and judgment, because understanding that this project is something that's going to transcend maybe the current staff, is we will leverage our pricing agreements with a lot of these manufacturers, because we do a lot of these projects. So we talk to a lot of the manufacturers that provide this technology, since we are the performance contractor and stand behind that product and implementation. It depends on the city and whether they feel comfortable using one sole source provider. We've seen it all over the map. There are some advantages to doing that based on their relationships. And so we will honor that if that is the case.
I think the biggest thing is that the entire council here would probably want to make sure that you are going to the ultimate to protect our interests, to make sure you're successful as well in this process. So, thank you.
With the meters, the meters being the same isn't as important as the technology that drives the radio readings or whatever the readers are.
So,
Did the other 2 council members down there have an opportunity to? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just in anticipation, and I didn't want to be so bold as to assume that you would approve this tonight, we've already set up meetings for the 23rd to start the process. It's an orientation and so forth, and then on May the 3rd, we will actually bring in all our guys. We have standard meters that we use in all departments, but their meter experts are going to come down, talk to our guys on our meters that we use, give us options for new technology that's out there, and we're gonna work through that workshop and I'll bring council up to date as we work through this.
Man, you're pushing. Just kidding, just kidding.
Mr. Valentine, luck is the point at which preparation meets opportunity. Well done.
At the end of this, if everything goes all well, do you anticipate, want to make sure that the meter readers all across the board in all three areas, they'll retain their employment with it?
It is not correct. We do not anticipate that. We're going to absorb them into the city. We're going to need a different technology, and maybe we'll train them to where they're not out there reading meters, but they're sitting analyzing data.
Because once this comes out, they're going to be in attendance. They're going to say, "Is my job going to be?"
We've kept them in the loop, and as a matter of fact, at the May 3rd meeting, they're invited.
I just want to make sure that they feel comfortable with the process and what's going on.
And just to comment to that, Johnson Controls is very much in support of the reallocation of resources. So while potentially the meter reading component might not be a part of their role, we would support training for supporting the infrastructure that's being built.
Any other thoughts? Call the vote, please.
Bernardo?
Yes.
Goodall?
Yes.
Griego? Yes. Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, appointment to the Tourism Board. Mr. Tom Kress, please confer, sorry to make you wait. I wanted to move that board, but I think you were here at the beginning. You kind of heard what everything, the questions that arose.
He needed to wait.
And something I just wanted to bring to, and I think all council has read, he has been part of the Blues Fest, and of course, I think Mr. Goodall could probably attest to how active he's been in the Blues Fest.
He plays
So before we
essential
get
part.
into that, so could you kind of tell us the reason why you wanted to do this and how, what you can add to the tourism?
Okay, I just retired from 34 years of UPS.
So you know the highways.
So I know a lot. And I talked to a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people in the motels. My biggest thing is I care about Trinidad. I like where it's going now. I've driven around Trinidad for 17 of those years, and I see things that I don't like, and I see things that are looking better, and kids. And I think that's one of the things I see about Trinidad is we do have some nice parks, and we do need some areas that need to be worked on. But I feel that Rusty Goodall and Mr. Grego brought up two good points. Rusty brought up the point that he feels that someone should know something about what they're going into. And I like what Karen said, that she came into city council not knowing. I'm kind of in the middle, I feel. I would like to learn more about the tourism board and what it represents, what it does. And as well as Rusty, I feel that a person should know what they're getting into and what they have to give to whatever board they go on to. And that's my feeling. I would like to give to the board what I can. That's what I feel about it.
Okay. Rusty, generally, you said you've been with him, he's participated, give us some information.
He definitely plays an essential part in with the Blues Fest. Tom handles all our merchandise, sales at the Blues Fest, along with securing all our motel rooms that we use for our guests and the performers. So he's always hardworking, very dedicated to it. I only have one question for you. You really want to sit on that board with your sister-in-law?
Well,
so are you trying to stack the board here?
I've been married to a
I'm
sister
totally
for,
kidding.
I've been married to a sister for 35 years, so it's been hand in hand.
No, I mean, he is a true asset to the Blues Fest board and very hardworking.
All I can say is, Tom, I've known you a long time, buddy. And you applied for this, I've granted a lot of happiness on there. Get out there and work, okay?
So, I don't think, especially after Mr. Goodall's comments,
Yeah.
I really don't have any questions. I mean, I know you very casually, but you make a good impression, and I've never heard anyone say bad thing about you. I seem to have a lot of experience in the tourism board, I mean, on the Trinidad board, so it sounds like a good fit.
We've had our exchanges. I've always felt that your concerns were genuine, and I can tell that you're going to be a worker, so
Yeah.
I worked with Tom last year at Police Fest the first time, and he was the guy in charge of everything that's money. We handled all the money every time, and he did it. He never skipped. He's very consummate professional.
It appears as though he's been properly vetted. What can I say or ask?
You know, one thing I was gonna say, we could probably, baptize you, in a pretty harsh way. There's this craft program that just came up, and,
It's Friday.
yeah. Friday, so you could-
Sister-in-law.
First meeting. First meeting tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock.
That you get with, Tara, and I think that would be something that would be a great benefit, a good learning, beginning to learn, okay? All right, thanks. You got a motion on that? Second. All vote, please.
Benado?
Yeah.
Dale?
Sorry,
Yes.
sorry to have to wait so long.
Riego?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes.
It's official. Thank you.
Item C. Item C, golf course funding, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
second.
discussion, please. Mr. Simon, could you give us a little bit?
I put this on the agenda primarily because a couple of you now have brought up the thought of withholding.
Mr. Matei?
Well, in the packet that we received, it speaks to a second amended lease agreement. That is the most current.
Yes.
And the one with which we subscribed. Does the 2017 memoranda of understanding supersede the 2016? We were given both, and I don't
Yeah,
understand
well,
why.
one of them is a lease for the golf course, for the
I
property.
saw the lease, there
The
are
other
two
one
memoranda.
is, the other one is an agreement to operate.
But there were two memoranda of understanding and one lease in the packet I have.
Yeah, there was an original one, and then there was one that was redone because the first one only lasted a year.
Okay, so my question is, do
We wanted-
17 supersede
Yes,
16?
but we want to show you guys.
Because there are some differences as I look through it. The original and the first amended lease agreement, are they in any way binding, or does the second amended lease agreement supersede all of those?
I believe it's the intention that the second lease agreement supersedes.
So I need not concern myself, whatever's written in those first two documents.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
It speaks to an ex officio member of council being on the golf association. Which one of us is that?
That one you stopped, and
Okay.
I've been attending the meetings.
Okay. It speaks to receiving an annual budget and monthly financial statements. Are we getting those?
Yes,
Okay. Are we satisfied with them?
yes, I think they're accurate.
Okay. Does the, we're talking about the, are you talking about the $15,000 lottery money? Or
No,
what
it's
funds are we talking
it
about?
says 75,000
Got it.
over a 3-year
There
period.
was some question about, is it $75,000 over 3 years or $25,000?
For 5 years.
Okay.
75 over 5 years.
So which is it? That's what it is,
That's what it
75.
is, 75 over 5. Okay, I got it. That having been said, I have no question other than that.
We're talking about, I was contacted by somebody from the Golf Association, and I noticed the letter and Greg's reference to the concrete pad in the back. But my concern is we just keep spending money, and I think we do need to cap the payments and the money that are going into the Golf Association. 120 members, and we have, I explained it to the gentleman that came to see me. I said, we're not an affluent community. We have other recreational facilities that need to be maintained. And I think really when I looked at the MOU, we really didn't have a responsibility to provide those golf carts, but we just did it. And I think we do need to watch our spending as well. Bottom line.
I feel that we should continue to honor the agreement that we told them in the MOU and the lease agreement. I understand that Councilmember Miles feels that 75,000 or 77,000 put into hole number 5 should just be the total amount and that's it. But I don't like if someone were to change the rules on the middle of the game on me like that. When we had a special retreat and designated the marijuana money spent specifically towards that, and we never said, well, we're going to take away that money that we already had told them was going to be part of their capital improvements. From my perspective, when I deal with property management, if there is a hole in the wall from a plumbing problem that's not from the fault of the tenants of ours, I shouldn't be able to go and take that money out of their deposit. Now, if it's something that they broke, that's a different story, but the way that that hole has been just settling over its lifetime is not necessarily the Golf Course Association's fault. That's time and gravity and depletion of water flowing through there. I feel that we should continue to keep them with what we had agreed to originally, with the monies that we said that we were going to do, and yet still we did take care of our asset as the owner of that property, and as well as another gem like we would do so for Monument Lake, for instance.
Yeah, actually, I can understand how, and I said, well, where do we stand with that? Because I'm trying to figure out how the numbers are adding up. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sun, but you said there were no applications for those funds. So I said, well, then can we grab them back? Because I just don't want these things materializing out of nowhere. And it turns out that sure enough, a month later, it didn't materialize out of nowhere. And another requirement, further to Mr. Mattei's questions about monthly reports and financial statements, there's a requirement for 5-year capital plan. Well, obviously, you'd submit that if there were no requests for capital improvements. So I'm just confused by the process. And now what we've got is we've got golf cart requirements. We've got $75,000 of capital improvements, which previously had not been applied for, even though it was required by contract that they apply for them. I guess you don't have to apply, but you know, it says you have to apply if you want to get them, and they show up late. So I'm just trying to do the calculus here. And I don't necessarily believe that we should ignore whatever the $80,000 we're spending on hole 5. At one point, we thought it was going to be 3 times that. But I'm just trying to pin down the economics of our understanding of it. And I've been trying to do that for 6 years. And that's my comment.
Oh, man. So I feel, I feel the golf course is much like Monument Lake, a valuable piece of property the city has. And I agree with Carlos on the fact that, like the bathhouse at Monument Lake, hole 5, with the natural erosion there, I think should not be the money that we invested in that and in the golf carts should go towards our capital improvement, the money that we dedicated to the golf course. That's what I got.
I just
I just have to say here, I'm looking at the thing here, and it says, President Mike Rodolphe or President Brett Flapp. Who's the president?
President is Brett.
Brett Flapp?
Yeah.
Okay, and as I look into the audience out here, you know, it's kind of heartless feeling that I have that if they were here, I mean, yeah, they're here, they're caring about the golf course. Right now, I don't see nobody here from the golf course, unless Bill over there is gonna tee off at 9 o'clock tonight or something, but it's the point of view that, you know, a lot of things come up where they want to have money, they want to do this, and I always supported the golf course. But it's kind of a tribal situation that if somebody cared, somebody would have to be a representative out there. And that's the way I look at it. I mean, it's just like anything else, you know, if you own something, if you want something, you should have the thing to, you know, be here present and say, and then that went out to America to get up there and ask them questions and stuff like that and explain to us what the problems or whatever it could be. So that's all I have.
Were they notified that they were on the agenda? Do they have knowledge?
I honestly can't tell you. I went to the meeting last week and we were discussing this kind of stuff. I can't recall if they said that.
Because you bring up a good point, but if they didn't know.
Yeah, if they didn't know,
that's the bad side.
yeah.
So I don't know.
So I don't know about that.
That's all I
Well, yeah, because I do have questions for
Okay.
you. Because I want to understand the calculus.
I do too.
And I want to understand the timeline for when this, I don't even know how much the money is over the remaining period of the contract. It's renewable once a year. Can we table this and have, then explicitly invite them to come back? I don't want to treat them unfairly. But without information, I'm afraid of mine, so I'd rather have them be here.
They have not used any of the 25,000,
Okay.
or 75,000.
If they could lay out exactly what the capital improvements are, I'd like to see the 5-year plan, I'd like to see the latest financials, and then give and take. That's all I'm really asking for.
And was there a request to have that?
It's just anytime during that 5-year period.
Wow.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a replacement plan, and that's not what I'm hearing right now. So that's what I'm looking to
I agree that we need to have a greater communication between here and there. And that having been said.
I think one of the other things too is that, you know, I know that they want to overlay that back, and you and I went back there, and it's a pretty big area. I think it'd be a good idea to find out how much that actual cost would be.
I think that the cost they're saying is in the 25 range.
25,000.
You're talking about putting a band shell.
What the whole camp you did?
Because what did we say that was? How big was that? That was like.
It's gotta be 100 by 40, pretty big.
Is that the area where the country club swimming pool used to be?
Yes.
Yeah. One other thing, if I can, Mr. Mayor. Part of our subsidy is utilities and a subsidized rent on the restaurant. I'd also like to hear what they're doing with that subsidy, because the idea was we're gonna get some return out of this. We're gonna get a more sustainable golf club if we can just support their operations. I know they had a car crash. That's not their fault at all. But I'd like a status of that as well. Are they gonna be open for Memorial Day, or are they gonna be open for the first tournament? What are their projections for the restaurant? Do they have a restaurant manager?
They're planning to open the restaurant May 1st. The operation, I think, is 9 to 5, something like that. It doesn't operate in the evenings. They are going to operate it themselves, so they're doing it with an employee, they're not contracting it out.
Okay, if they can just come with some of those
And
details.
it's pretty simple menu, it's like hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff.
If you would ask them to get kind of a reasonable quote of what that back area is going to cost them, what they actually want to do. Do they want to put a band shell? Do they want to put carpet like they talked about? Do they want to put concrete? Do they want to not put band shell? We need to find out through these discussions what they really want to do.
Well, I understand, I haven't seen them, but I understand they get bids for it.
So they need to give us a capital improvement plan. So that
Well,
we
it's specified that they would do that.
specify that in here, so.
And it's never been forthcoming.
So anyway, I think we need to take a motion to table with amending the motion at this point to approve, and amending that to table.
So moved.
Second? Second. Call vote, please.
Bernardo?
Yes.
Goodall?
Yes.
Riego?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item D, letter of support for Fort Carson to keep a reformulated brigade at the base. Did everybody in council, did you guys read what was happening with all that? Just for audience's sake, what's happening, and put it in a nutshell, they will want to change one of the divisions in Colorado Springs from an infantry division to an armored division, which will go from the 4th to the 16th. Long story short is they could either gain 800 or they could lose 4,000 troops out of Fort Carson, to the tune of around 6,000 approximately people, to the tune of around $335 to $336 million economic to impact to Colorado Springs. So that being said, like I said, I wanted to, I've had some discussion with Fort Carson. I think Mr. Renato has too. They send us all the information. As a matter of fact, I think you, Greg, you're headed to Washington tomorrow, correct? And I guess has a meeting been set up for you to meet with somebody?
I don't know about a meeting with the Army. I'm meeting with Senator Gardner's staff on Friday afternoon.
Okay. And you got a letter prepared for us for my signature and all of our signatures, and actually, to be honest with you, I kind of goofed up. I wrote on it. Can we get another copy? And along with that, just to mention to you guys, whether if you guys were going to disapprove or approve, I went out myself just over the past week and got some signatures on a petition, and I got about 35 signatures for a petition, and I was going to send it off in my name only if you disapproved. But being that if you're approved, I'll send that along with Greg so he can present that to Mr. Gardner, to Corey Gardner. Any reason that you...
And also that, talking to Colonel Finch, it was very disheartening to Fort Carson itself. I mean, we lose these troops, we lose them not only in Colorado Springs, but the troops that come down here to train. So, you know, I appreciate when I found out about this, I called right away, and I called Mr. Rico, and Mr. Rico got in touch with a couple other people up there, and I appreciate the mayor, and I appreciate the people in this community that we look up to Fort Carson, and we have to have these soldiers here and train here. So with this letter that I read, I have to make a motion that we approve this letter and give it to Mr. Sun to bring to Washington.
Another good point is that I also contacted the Chamber of Commerce for a letter of support, which they had done.
Already gone. Good.
And it's gone already, so they want to Gardner. So we went to Corey
Good.
Gardner.
He could have hand-delivered it.
Well,
it's already gone.
So we have a motion and a second. Any call vote, any other discussion, any concerns?
Kim says no motion and second.
I made a motion.
Yeah,
You made a motion?
I
Second?
can make a motion.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion or concerns? Mr. McKay, you got a look like this.
Not about this, we'll talk later.
Okay. Call vote, please.
Bernardo?
Yes.
Goodall?
Yes.
Riego?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Council reports. Mr. Bernardo?
Yeah, I'd just like to report on one thing is that last Saturday we had a little fundraiser for our autism group at the fairgrounds, and it was well attended. I mean, we had a lot of kids out there, and we had a lot of fun. Mr. Sun was there. I don't know, last time I saw him, he was eating 3 hot dogs at one time. I don't know if he got full, but I really appreciate the turnout that the people came, and my daughter and I are going to go to Colorado Pueblo on the 27th of this month, and we'll meet with the Soaring Eagles again. And you know, I can't thank the city enough for doing this for us, giving us a place that we could show our support for our autistic kids. It's kind of, it hurts right there. And I think our foot's in the door, and we're moving forward, and we'll have a lot more information on 27th to come back to this council and show us, and I appreciate Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well,
I have nothing.
You don't?
No.
I went to Joe's autism
Oh,
thing
yes,
too.
that was
and
out there.
Anyway, it was really a lot of fun, but I have to tell you a funny story. And it made me appreciate how difficult, because I'm so removed from, I don't have any grandkids or nieces and nephews, unfortunately, that are autistic. But I got drafted into an egg toss. And, you know, you start and you're like 2 feet apart.
Yeah.
Now, I managed to achieve the impossible. I missed the egg on the first toss. Now, this kid went crazy. She did it on purpose, so I ran and I got another egg. We kept going. And so I made a bad toss, and he missed it, but it was pretty far apart. I was thinking, okay, we're out of it now. And he picked up the partially broken egg and hurled it at me. No, it was funny. I'm not saying anything to denigrate anyone. What I'm saying is, people handle disappointment differently. And I think we get spoiled by the fact that we're taught to roll with disappointment, and certain people are built differently. So I learned a lot, so I encourage people to
I should have seen you swinging at the pinata.
But I will confess that I have a little bit more. I will own up to having missed the egg on the first toss. Let's see, we had a special board meeting and some refinancing banking committee calls with ARPA, some of which is going to be subject of our executive session tonight.
I'd like to report that the Arcade Bowl-a-thon dog 5K, 10K half marathon run. I was lucky to be not really an organizer, but just someone there to help start the race. And they're trying to organize more races. I believe they're going to have one on Memorial Day weekend. Race through Trinidad that the Outdoor Adventure Club or the Trinidad Outdoor Club is organizing, and so it's gaining a lot of steam for outdoor recreational capabilities. There was actually a gentleman that drove down from northern Colorado, left at like 1 in the morning to be there for this race, which I found very impressive to see the tenacity of some of these individuals who want to run, and they don't care where it is, but they just want to be part of these races. And it was nice to see that Mr. and Mrs. Stodgill put on a great program like that, so kudos to them for that. That's it.
There?
I just have one thing. I gave you all that assessment for the craft program, and only Councilman Matei is the only one that gave me a complete.
I'm afraid of her.
So I have a couple of blanks if you want to really, we need that for input. We're really starting in with that. That's all right.
What does it look like? I think I have it.
Multi-page survey.
Yes, I'll get that to you.
I have
I have that on my desk.
Okay.
I was looking at it today.
I have 3.
looked
And I
at
need
it
it
today.
by Friday.
Okay, I'll do it when I go home,
You can
because I'm
email.
afraid of you too.
You better. I mean, all of us are trudging through from 8 to 5, huh, Tara? Exactly. All I'm asking is, I'm trying to shame you into it.
Yeah, really.
It's working.
Yeah.
Is it working? Good.
Am I red yet?
Mr. McKay? Yes. After our last meeting and the discussion on the golf carts and Mr. Azar's generous offer and that kind of stuff, I know Frank. When he first got out of law school, he worked at the DA's office and prosecuted many of my cases, plus he came out and rode with me several times to see what we did. And long story short, when I retired, I did some accident reconstructions for him. Be that as it may, knowing him as I do, I took it upon myself to call him and try and explain why we were limited, what we could do in accepting his offer. It's interesting because our meeting was on Tuesday. I called him on Friday, and I was not aware of the time change between here and Colombia, Bogota, Colombia. And I woke him up, and he told me he'd call me when we go back to Colorado. And being somewhat impatient, I checked on Tuesday, and yesterday was the secretary, and he called me, and I guess we're going to do it. And he and I had a rather interesting conversation, a lot about the times he rode with me and that kind of stuff. But more importantly, he's still open to the idea of contributing, and maybe not so necessarily tied to what our commitment might be. He suggested that he's working on it to fulfill his original obligation or commitment. And then he mentioned the idea of leasing. And I guess he's a member of many golf courses in the state, at least, and perhaps in the country. And he knew a little bit about that. He was going to look into that, and he would get back to us about that with an offer or another possibility. So the point being is, I just felt it necessary to explain to him why we did what we did, and so forth. And then, in the interim time, for your information with Fedco and the problem with the bridge and downtown or the downstairs and just all the things that are going on there, I hope maybe you will speak to that. And then also with the Mitch and what they're concerned about maybe not opening this summer and perhaps even moving the collection of Mitchell Park. And that's it. It's concluded.
You know, you bring up an interesting thing there, Anthony. You know, today we were invited to go tour the Mitchell Museum. I'll have to get you have to get another new cover sheet on that because I wrote on it.
Okay.
So if you do that. But we, Greg and I went to the Mitch and they took us through a tour through all the caverns, and I'm not sure how many people have done that, but there are caverns and dungeons, and it's crazy how big that place is.
40,000 square feet.
It's massive. Wow. There are rooms in there that you just can't imagine that are in that building.
Really?
Yeah. We've probably all been to the majority of them or some of them, but not to the extent that we saw it. All over some ideas and some thoughts as to the niche, and then see if there's something that we want to try out and do. A little about a week and a half ago, Donovan Ripkenna was here, and he gave a presentation on historical preservation, and he's a international known person on historical preservation. It was really interesting, his perspective. And he was very upfront, and he said that the cost of going into renovating these old buildings really does not pay off in the long run. The whole idea behind it is to preserve what we have. And that's why most of the people, let's take like, for instance, Mr. Chimino is going in and doing all this renovation. I think he realizes that his investment may not pay off, and probably won't, but his investment to himself is that he wants to preserve what we have here in Trinidad, and that's the old buildings. So that was kind of an interesting perspective that he brought forward. I'm not sure if there's any other perspectives that you thought of that.
I'm happy to provide the PDF presentations to council, and I can provide them to Ms. Garrett. I think one of the points that he made is while historic preservation might in the long run cost the developer more, it also creates more jobs for the community. It provides more resources locally, and in the end, it creates sustainable tourism assets, which is what we're learning in our craft initiative.
That was kind of the gist of the entire thing. But it was very interesting to listen to. He was very straightforward. The other thing, I'm not sure if President Trump overrode their Attorney General Sessions federal rule to impose the federal rule on recreational marijuana. I'm not sure if you guys saw that. And of course, I think that was on the idea that Cory Gardner threatened to hold a future wrong nominees. So I think that was the biggest reason why. So he backed off that. The big thing that was kind of interesting is that he overrode the Attorney General again without before telling him. So that was interesting.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are the three things that I wanted to bring everyone's attention.
I thought Dana Crawford was charming.
Oh yeah, she always is.
She's just warming up and warming up to Trinidad.
Yeah, she is.
Has everything nice to say.
Yeah. Greg.
I've been meeting with groups of employees in the general services area and class and comp, and having pretty good conversations. Not all of them real good, and not all of them real nice. They ask some pretty pointed questions and make comments, and I think that's fine. I want to hear what they all have to say. So far I've met with the public works employees and the gas division employees. Next week we might do the water and electric together.
I too, I wanted to say that when I meet with Senator Gardner's staff, I'm going to thank them for his intervention into this. It makes life a little bit easier when you're not sitting under this potential enforcement. So with the marijuana issue. With the Fedco one, I'm really hesitant to get into that right now. It's a contract issue, and I think if we delve into it too far, it could be used against us. So
Thank you.
it's not that it's not important, it's just, it's a contract. So, and like the mayor said, that was really a good experience today with the A.R. Mitchell people. I really enjoyed that, and being able to see everything. They have all the old photographs and everything are still there. They have, what'd they say, 250 paintings of Mitchell? Something like that,
I
260.
know just painting drawings, there's 107 drawings and other stuff.
And they also have a whole bunch of negatives and prints of someone else who was a photographer.
Plus, we have all the Green Seal and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an enormous building, though. There's one wall that's got these flying buttresses on it that are just enormous. They're like 25 feet high in the basement.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. First of all, I'm sorry I was late this evening. I had a thing to tell you. Traffic was horrible. I want to begin by letting council know, if you don't know already, and if you would please mark your calendars, that the Space to Create groundbreaking is June 11th, and the governor is going to be here. The mayor says he knows, and anyway, Ms. Marshall suggested that I remind all of you if you didn't already, so thank you for that, Tara, and if you would please mark your calendars. I want to let all of you know that LED signs in Trinidad are, well, they have become an issue. And there are 2 approved LED signs currently. They were, and I know that Councilman Goodall knows quite a bit about these, but they kind of arose differently. There are 2 different locations. But it is, I believe I can say, the recommendation of staff that you look at the sign code and consider adopting an ordinance regulating LED signs. There are other businesses, I am told, that are basically saying, coming soon, are new LED signs, something to that effect. And that's okay, because there is nothing to prohibit or keep people from doing that. But whatever your viewpoint is on LED signs, you may not want them in the historic district. You may want them to have certain regulations that don't already exist regarding signs in the sign code. And anything, I don't know if you want to add to that, Grant?
Well, I don't think they're allowed right now. But the
Right.
potential for allowing them is in the new code. And the thing we talked about this morning is, well, the code's under construction, so to speak. Maybe there needs to be a moratorium on these things.
I believe Mr. Sund and Mr. Downs just stated that correctly. We're hearing and we're expecting applications to come in. It's really difficult to consider a code while you're also processing applications. And the way I'm seeing this evolve is if planning and zoning were to consider an application for conditional use permit and they were to deny that, it would immediately be appealed to you. So you would be in a situation where you would be considering whether or not to grant an appeal on a subject that we haven't yet discussed from a code perspective. So we're not making a recommendation of one way or another on the signs. We're only saying that during the time in the next few months when we're going to be bringing you, we're very close to bringing you the code and having the discussion, it would probably be cleaner if we were having that discussion while we weren't actually considering applications. This would be an emergency ordinance for staff to consider no more applications on electronic message boards. That's primarily what we're talking about. Our electronic message boards or LED signs that have transitions or changes.
So would we have to read that up in the policy and with the moratorium at the same night, or would it, what would come? What would you like?
We weren't able to bring that to you this evening because we had the discussion this morning. We would likely request a special meeting and bring you an ordinance, an emergency ordinance. Once adopted, it would be in place for 30 days until you adopted a new ordinance that either continued that permanently until set a moratorium, or until it would give us 30 days to have further discussion. You wouldn't be obligated then, Mayor, to consider the second ordinance, although we would bring it forward then at your regular meeting on May 1.
All right, if we adopted an ordinance after we go through the moratorium,
Yes.
and the original signs are non-compliant with our existing sign ordinance, and the adopted one
They're
is modified
non-conforming.
for LED, what would happen?
So we have 2 non-conforming signs right now. So if we adopt a code eventually, like we do an emergency ordinance, we're putting a moratorium in place.
Right.
And then we put an ordinance in place that actually says, until such a time as we adopt a new sign code, we have a moratorium on any other applications. Then we adopt a code, and that code addresses signs in this way.
Oh, wait.
They're not conforming.
They're not conforming to, they're not conforming to
You're
the
saying
code
that we're
we.
gonna reward people who just ignore the sign code, the existing sign code?
So I can explain this in that the first one that was granted was done through a sign variance. And that is a legal allowable, option for planning and zoning to do. The variance was granted based on land use considerations. It was given to a lot that had significant hardships when it came to signage. Now, the fact that the sign that was granted was also a digital sign created a situation for a second application that was already on file. That application, let me start, because I know I'm being not very clear. We had an application for a sign at La Puerta that was on file 2 months prior to the sign variance that was put forward by Cook Motors. The staff kept saying to the La Puerta folks that the sign code did not allow digital signs. Then Mr. Cook brought forward a variance for an LED sign for Cook Motors. The variance was granted based on the correct criteria. There are 6 criteria based on a hardship, based on the type of lot that Mr. Cook has. His business is set back further than the restaurant right in front of him. He can't remediate that. There's a list of reasons that that was granted. That granting of that variance created a situation where now the business that got the LED sign based on a hardship, it precluded the other applicant who had already put their applicant in from actually receiving approval because they didn't have a hardship based on the property. Legal counsel suggested that we use the ability to do a conditional use permit, which can be requested in any place where the code is silent. So La Puerta came forward with a conditional use permit. Planning and zoning granted that conditional use permit 10 days ago, or 7 days ago on the 9th, 10th of this month. The discussion at that meeting was if we grant this discussion of where, if we're going to have LED message boards, where we're going to allow them and where we're not going to allow them. These signs are done, they're already done. We have already, in this past week, had inquiries because of this. We have one sign that was put up without a permit and we've had them go dark. There's another article in the newspaper about a local nonprofit that's putting up a message board in their windows. So what we're seeing is all these other applications are coming in and we haven't presented to council yet the opportunity to talk about this issue. We're just asking to talk about it outside of the purview of all these other applications.
Okay, so we're going to have an emergency meeting.
That's our recommendation.
So I think we ought to have that, and probably have that next week if possible.
Apologize, Mr. Gallagher, I hijacked your conversation.
No, it's quite all right, thank you.
I have a question.
And then the other thing, I guess, for everybody's understanding, is that those 2 that are in place now, that basically they're going to be grandfathered in, correct?
They are not, yes, they're
gonna
done.
be done. They're gonna be done.
The variance can't be taken away and neither can CP.
What are the major complaints from people that you're hearing about these LED lights?
I don't know that I want to make a statement. I'm not saying that we have complaints. as I stated, Councilmember Lopez, I'm not advocating for or against. I'm saying we have an activity going on that's against our code. Staff's recommendation is we stop taking applications until we address the code. That is our only point here.
I'd rather go ahead and, poll the council members next week, see if we can get a emergency meeting set up. Anything else?
Just one quick item, and that is, at the last meeting, Nancy Lackey, during her comments, alcohol from the bar inside and go to the patio. And that is not allowable because the sidewalk is not licensed premises. It's not licensed premises. And so we can't have anyone other than their staff carrying the alcohol across a non-licensed premises area. So that was raised by her in public, so I wanted to address that and respond to that in a similar fashion. I'm sorry she's not here now, but I just wanted to.
Something that we might do is if we know that other communities have these patios like this, check with them to see if, or is that because of our ordinance?
Well, it's because of state law. I don't think it's really conceivable that they could do that unless they had a patio that kind of shoved right up to the premises, and then their ADA access was on the outside of the patio. And I just don't think it's a violation of every liquor code to have staff patrons carry alcohol in an area that's not licensed.
I think, I think what she said, but I think she found that she was saying that, like, when they were real busy, I think that was the word, when they were real busy, that the patrons were going because they could go out the door with it.
Right.
That was where the problem, I guess, was not.
And it's always a violation everywhere. I mean, you just can't walk outside the licensed premises unless you have the entertainment district. Then you can. That's what I mean.
If we just insured the whole downtown as the entertainment district 24 hours a day,
All
7
the
days a
time.
week there, then they could walk right out, just like Vegas.
Do I hear a motion?
New Orleans, Las Vegas, yeah.
That's it.
All right.
That's it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, item 11, executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and/or discussing negotiators under CRS Section 24-6-402, 4E, ARPA legal matters. Motion to go into executive session, please.
So moved.
We have the first and a second. Roll call, please.
Bernardo?
Yeah.
Goodall?
Yes.
Green? Lopez?
Yes.
Duvall?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. All right, this is 5 minutes here, so we can come back.
Oh, you have the signature.
I'm not asking for it.
You know who has the patience of Joe? What do we call it?
That's right. Lots of stuff. Big deal.
It's from the teammate, and I don't think they had digital signs back then, and they didn't, but I
See you, Scoop.
have that instant.